He was just an editor who successfully destroyed an upcoming star in some ways. But now he has become an idol with a perfect system. At work, someone caught his attention. He turned in her direction and asked what she wanted. Taking a closer look at her, he could tell she was exhausted. But he still asked if she was planning to hang out with her friends. Frustrated, she yelled, explaining how her friends now hated her because of him. Our boy didn't understand since she wasn't great at singing. He did his best to make her seem like a passionate dancer despite her annoying attitude. Adjusting his glasses, he commented that he managed to secure 4th place for her, and wondered why he was being blamed. But she saw things differently. Trembling in rage, she explained that people only voted for her to ruin the group. And despite explaining that everything was edited, her fans still hated her. Our boy understood the methods used to create buzz and hype for an upcoming idol and knew the girl had great potential. So he gave her some advice, but she retorted, making him remind her that she desperately wanted to debut. A bit annoyed, he pressed further, mentioning how people were calling him her sugar daddy. He suggested she take a chill pill, adding that checking her bank account would definitely cheer her up. With that, he left, believing money solves everything. She swore, hoping he would crash and burn. She promised that one day, our boy would understand and experience what she was feeling. He acted scared, responding sarcastically. Realizing the girl had come just to throw tantrums and insults, he ignored her. At the same time, he accumulated 100 system points. After continuously accumulating points, he unknowingly met the condition to activate the gaming system. The next morning, we see someone feeling groggy, grabbing a cold drink. Seeing our boy, he almost choked on his drink. Our boy, looking radiant, didn't understand what had happened. Rather than explaining, the other guy just stared at him like a brainless idiot. Anyway, Kim quickly started a work conversation about his recent project. However, Seo Hajin, his younger brother, didn't understand, thinking Kim's editing job only required him to work from home. This led our boy to inform him that his role also involved going on shoots. Fearing that his next statement would enrage Kim, Hajin quickly changed the topic, noting that Kim looked like he had shaved 10 years off his life. He wondered if it was related to a work project. Kim retorted, still wanting to explain the role of a PD editor. Just then, he felt his heart pound, realizing something was off. His brother wondered if he had been fired. However, it was the system informing him that his mission was completed. Accepting his reality, he was no longer a PD editor. He was now an failed idol. This revelation caused Kim to punch the system while his brother thought he had gone mad. Hajin assumed it was because Kim had been overworked for the past 10 years. But Kim wished that were the case. Still trying to comprehend what was happening, the system suggested he accept reality. He was no longer an editor. Frustrated, he slammed the table, demanding to know why he was an idol in the first place. His brother was utterly bewildered. At the same time, he remembered the girl from the broadcast station and started to piece things together. Still expressing his frustration, his brother tried to reassure him, advising him to stay calm. Kim decided to tell his brother everything, explaining how he discovered a system window after waking up. The window displayed his name, current age, and the agency he worked for. The most concerning detail was the condition. Failing to complete the game would result in permanently logging out. Of course, in his groggy state, he hadn't understood and dismissed it. But while cleaning up, he realized something strange. His face had changed. For someone who was always sleep-deprived, he no longer had dark circles. Hearing this, his brother realized that was why he had almost choked earlier. He added that looking young was a good thing. But our boy wasn't taking the situation as lightly as his brother. Kim decided to look up his info online, hoping he wasn't the only one affected. However, disappointment hit him. He was now a singer in an unknown agency. Kim nearly pulled his hair out. The career he had painstakingly built for 10 years was gone. Meanwhile, the system once again advised him to accept reality. It further explained that he was now a player in the game. Desperate, Kim tried to find the game on his phone. The game he was supposedly a player in was one he had on his phone before, but now it was gone. Hearing this, the system reminded him that he had possessed the body of a failed idol. Well, seemed this is some kind of punishment. Kim sighed in frustration. At least he was reassured that his brother still remembered him. But possessing a game character wasn't thrilling at all, and the curse from that girl made things even more ridiculous. First, he was a professional editor who helped some trainee idols debut. Now, he had been cursed and possessed the body of a game character. Knowing none of this made sense, and that thinking about it wouldn't change anything, he tried to calm down. The system, seeing his confused state, prepared a game guide for him. Meanwhile, his brother wondered what he was staring at. The system then explained that only a few people would remember him. To put it simply, our boy was stuck in a parallel dimension. Kim struggled to grasp the idea. Was he really an idol in a parallel dimension? Thankfully, the system offered a way out. He had to complete the game. Failure would result in permanent disability. That particular line made his expression darken. We learn about his past. At work, he always felt aches in his joints, but things were far worse during his time in rehab. When he turned 21, his parents were in an accident during the winter. This left only him and his younger brother. Although he suffered injuries, they were nothing compared to the pain of watching his relatives argue over the insurance payout. He needed to take care of his brother, and with his injuries, manual labor was out of the question. So, he worked hard at school. Everything changed when his talent was noticed. One of the projects he worked on became a massive hit. We see the clear shock and disbelief on his face. Anyway, the show's success made a huge difference. His edits went from earning him $2 to $5,000. But now, all of his achievements were gone. Meanwhile, his brother was still staring at Kim's system window. Annoyed, Kim asked the system how he was supposed to clear the game when he was already an idol. The system suggested he follow the scenario. Excited, the system already saw our boy as the fantasy of many high school girls. Kim, however, suddenly decided to take a smoke. The system immediately warned him. Kim froze, not understanding why idols couldn't smoke. Trying to picture an idol's life in his head, he grew irritated. His brother chimed in, explaining the do's and don'ts of an idol's life. But Kim cut him off, not liking how detailed his analysis was, prompting the poor guy to keep his mouth shut. At the same time, Kim's first main scenario arrived. He sighed before accepting the mission. His brother, a bit concerned, asked if he was really planning to go through with it. Kim, however, had no choice, and when his brother said something dumb, he knocked some sense into him. With his arms crossed, he reminded his brother that he had never failed at anything. He was someone who didn't care about the means, only the result. Determined to get his old life back, he was ready to play the game. In the next chapter, Kim prepares to visit the agency, relieved that he no longer needs glasses. Feeling confident and reassured by his looks and outfit, he quietly arrives at the subway cabin, trying not to draw any attention. But the system scoffs. Whispering to the system, he complains that people usually recognize him, but the system remains indifferent. We learn that the system allows our boy to view his stats as a reward for accepting the first task. However, in the process, the system teasingly adds that his popularity is trash. He could dance in public, and people would think he's insane. Seeing this makes him furious. Looking at his stats, his singing is at B rank, and his dancing is at D-. But what's more concerning is his variety sense being at B rank rather than S rank, even though he still has experience as an editor. This leads the system to point out the difference. It then shows his mission, visiting and listening to the explanation about the declining idol group called the Dawn. Arriving outside the building, he sees an incoming manager waving at him, gesturing for him to come over. This takes our boy by surprise. Why is the manager coming out to greet him? Kim humbly introduces himself. Seeing the manager's stunned expression, he immediately realizes he messed up. Next, we see inside the building, and Kim lets us know it was built by D-City Entertainment, the company that created the Dawn. Apparently, the company specializes in training actors, which he confirms by looking it up online. On his way, he finds a popular actor everyone knows in the hallway. However, his manager, seeing this, assures Kim that they will have their photos displayed as well if they do well. Kim understands this is a classic motivation tactic, something he was familiar with even when he worked as an editor. Meanwhile, here's a quick background check on the Dawn. Since the company mainly trains actors, they once decided to create a boy idol group. Kim, or rather, his character, dropped out due to illness and didn't debut, and the group failed miserably. They have been neglected for over 6 months due to their failed debut. At least it brings some relief to him, knowing he wasn't the reason for their failure. Anyway, we see that the chairman isn't quite thrilled to see Kim. Even more puzzled, he wonders if the company still has an idol group, since they have been neglected for so long, and he can't quite recall. Kim, however, collects himself and greets him politely. This causes the chairman to suddenly remember their disastrous debut. Kim's expression darkens, but the system warns him that the game can't be completed without joining the group. The chairman, on the other hand, tries to be professional, explaining the cost of making a comeback, which they were doing purely out of pity. Kim just watches as the old man continuously rants, to the point where the conversation becomes a full-blown monologue. Kim concludes that this company is a mess, all thanks to the chairman himself. Both are stunned when Kim suddenly asks about the cost of the comeback and the time frame. He discovers it's only 6 months, a very short time considering his stats and everything else, but remains calm. Since he can't get any more information from the chairman, he decides to leave, excusing himself in the process. The chairman, a bit reluctant, advises Kim to give it his all. At the same time, the system shows 3 options to choose from. 1. Try his best. 2. Ask for money. 3. Swear to succeed at all costs. Kim stares in disbelief at the absurd choices. However, the cheeky system initiates a countdown. Panicked, Kim screams out the third option, but the system would have selected it for him regardless. Kim is not thrilled. Instead, he mutters curses that the author had to censor. Seeing this, the system decides to assign a side quest to help with his development. At the same time, the system rewards him for completing the mission. His charisma increases by 5 points, and his next mission, visiting the trash idol group. Before going into the practice hall, his manager gave a heads up about the group's strange behavior due to stress. Kim has no idea what to expect from the boy group, since he will be meeting them for the first time. The moment the door creaks open, Kim immediately puts on his serious face. Their manager quickly tries to explain our boy's case and the reason for his absence, clearing up any misunderstandings. Meanwhile, the system chimes in, identifying the members: Song-hyun, the leader, main dancer, and very sensitive about the group's possible disbandment. Jaewon, the singer, with an unknown special trait. Jaewon is thrilled to know our boy will be joining them. Young Dajuan, the sub-dancer and the youngest in the group, very polite. Lee Chai, the red-haired troublemaker rapper. The system also notes that this guy has a twisted personality. The manager tries to radiate positive energy, but Kim can tell without the system's help that there's a bit of hostility toward him. Still, Kim notes that the group's balance isn't too bad. Despite being on the verge of breaking down, they still remain radiant, which is a key trait of an idol. And now, he decides to focus on the next matter at hand. He firmly asks them to perform their comeback song. However, in the next moment, Kim is completely drained of energy. At the same time, Jaewon finds him and asks if he's alright. For Kim, this is a ridiculous question. He asks, is singing a song for 3-year-olds really considered a comeback? Bro is about to lose it. Even powerful editing can't help them now. Jaewon, completely indifferent, cheerfully explains that it was due to the company and their previous failed debut. On the bright side, they aren't disbanded, and he hopes to make good memories. Kim has to remind himself that he's doing this for his brother, specifically, to put food on the table. Jaewon, all radiant, wants to show Kim their dance routine, which he claims is addictive, but Kim shows no interest. He's starting from scratch, and for starters, they are not dancing in pineapple costumes. The manager looks shocked upon hearing Kim's absurd remark about the comeback song. The leader is frustrated, shoves the poor guy aside, throws a tantrum, and tells Kim to leave if he doesn't like it. But the system reminds Kim that he can't leave. So, our boy tries to reason with them, calmly asking if they truly believe the comeback will be successful with the current song. The manager is unsure but thinks it might work because of its uniqueness and freshness. However, Song-hyun immediately cuts him off, saying that it's the only song they have, and they don't have the means to get a better one. Once again, they remind Kim that he can leave, which prompts our boy to explain that the comeback is important to him, so leaving isn't an option. Like a professional, Kim replies that success in any industry isn't guaranteed, but they all know the song won't work. He understands from personal experience that hard work doesn't justify trash work. Recalling his time as an editor, he remembers trainees shedding tears because of this harsh truth. It's best to focus on the most effective methods. However, Jaewon isn't on the same page. He advises Kim not to speak carelessly, arguing that this won't get them anywhere. Well, that confirms why they're all looks but no brains. Kim takes the initiative, saying they shouldn't live like this. Amazingly, the youngest agrees, believing they need a better song. Adopting a different demeanor, Kim boldly declares that he will get a better song from the Blue Tiger within 3 days. Shock spreads among them. Disbelief is written all over their faces as they press Kim for more details. Song-hyun, however, remains indifferent, doubting Kim's ability. Lee Chai happily chimes in, saying that getting a song from Blue Tiger is like winning the lottery. He likes the plan. Kim doesn't respond to the compliment, and simply decides to leave, promising to return in 3 days. Lee Chai playfully strolls out, commenting that the timing was perfect. Jae-won also chimes in, saying he needs to prepare for his finals. The manager is surprised to learn that he's still in college. Meanwhile, the leader remains deep in thought. The next morning, we see Kim waking up. As he stares at his reflection, he thinks about his next step. At the same time, his brother is surprised to see him up so early. Staring at him intently, he mutters that it wasn't a dream. Kim quickly decides to leave, causing the system to tease him about his brother thinking just like him. Well, Kim thinks it's only natural. After all, he was the one who took care of him. The system, surprisingly, compliments him. Next, we see a high-rise building. Inside, a table is covered with piles of mail. A blonde woman sits deep in thought, complaining about not being able to come up with the right chorus. To make things worse, she's working on a tight deadline. Suddenly, Kim arrives and her secretary stops him, asking for his identity. She asks if he has an appointment, and is about to explain the whole procedure when their conversation deeply irritates the woman. Unable to hold back, she yells for Kim to get out, saying she needs silence while working. She even scolds her secretary. On the other hand, Kim remains calm and remarks that her work isn't going well. Surprisingly, he presents her with a bottle, noting that taking a break in times like these is the best choice. The woman's attitude immediately does a 180, and she's suddenly ready to hear Kim out. Kim cheerfully thanks him, while the system informs him that she has an extreme temper. Amazingly, Kim already knows her from one of his past projects. She dismisses her secretary, eager to get down to business. Now, the system is curious about Kim's plan, but our boy simply tells it to watch him cook. Kim formally introduces himself as Hoyeon from the City Entertainment. Smiling, the woman notes that she's never heard of them. She's even more surprised that an agency is sending kids to do their job. But Kim suddenly suggests they have a drink. She warns him to watch his tone, but Kim mistakes it for the title of the song she's working on. Her face suddenly drains of color as Kim continues mentioning song titles. He happily shows her a chart, explaining that these songs became top hits through chart manipulation. I'm not sure what Kim is trying to accomplish, but I guess we'll find out. Hyunsu decides to play clueless, not mentioning that artists are lining up for her songs. Seeing this, Kim smirks. She's fallen for the bait. You see, people like her are known for their short temper and sharp tongue. Their harsh words are trademarks of their profession's pride, and the public tends to let it slide. For deeper understanding, all Kim needs to do is crush her pride, something he can clearly see through. Now, with all the facts in check, his lips curl into a smile. After all, the more hesitant she gets, the easier she'll be crushed. In the next moment, Blue Tiger feels as if she's been struck by lightning. She's clearly annoyed and enraged, but Kim, unfazed by her expression, praises the music for its emotion and quality. Cheekily, he adds that it's quite different from her usual style. Immediately, she grabs her tablet and smashes it. But she's dumbstruck when Kim pulls out his phone, reminding her that the file wasn't only on the tablet. Adding fuel to the fire, he mockingly compliments her ability, saying the original tracks are great, and he's sure the composer wouldn't plagiarize them. Blue Tiger, on edge, admits that she actually bought the lyrics, but Kim isn't done. He points out that while the song is listed under her name, it's a perfect setup for a plagiarism scandal. Kim continues dropping bombshells, pushing her further to the edge. The trending music she acquired could be exposed at any moment. If that happens, it won't just ruin her image, it'll affect legal funding and other matters. He even brings up her studio's current loan. She struggles to maintain her calm demeanor, sweating profusely. Desperately, she asks what Kim wants. Our boy inwardly chuckles at her attempt to remain calm. Kim, acting as if it's not obvious, asks what happens when an idol personally visits a song composer. After reflecting, she tells him to send the details and contract via mail. Shocking enough, Kim explains that wasn't the case, leaving her completely stunned. She is the one who will be doing the work and sending the details to Kim. She's furious upon hearing this. When she tries to protest, Kim gives her a very good reason to comply, forcing her to agree to send it later. A bit clueless, the system asks if buying someone's work is considered plagiarism. Kim replies that while she's a genius composer, her pride would take a massive hit if people discovered she buys lyrics instead of writing them. She is undoubtedly talented, that's a fact. But the pressure of constant deadlines has weakened her, forcing her to use alternative means. Kim adds a bunch of other work-related stuff, but honestly, we don't really care. Anyway, with the song issue resolved, Kim provides his contact information for the details, and more importantly, for the payment for the Smash tablet. Clearly, this is going to be one of her worst days. Still trying to resist, she explains that many people want songs and questions how she could just hand it over to our boy. Looking at Kim, she grows curious, wondering if he's actually an idol based on the way he speaks. Excited, he almost reveals his true identity as an editor, prompting the system to immediately provide 3 choices to help him stay on mission. The ever-helpful system is here to keep our boy on track. Meanwhile, Blue Tiger is also curious, noting that Kim was talking about love before suddenly stopping. Kim sighs at the absurd choices presented to him. The first 2 are completely ridiculous, so he quickly selects the third option, boldly declaring himself the eternal star. Her face goes completely blank, an awkward silence filling the air. Kim stands there, petrified, as she calls him an idiot, making him reflect on his life choices. Kim is back home, chatting with the composer. After some back and forth, she finally sends him the music file. Listening to the song, he's shocked. She made it in just 4 hours. He realizes that artists pour all their emotions into their work, abandoning logic. But still, he wonders, if she's this talented, why did she resort to chart manipulation and plagiarism? At that moment, his brother arrives. Seizing the opportunity, Kim asks for his opinion on the song. His brother listens carefully before honestly saying, "It was good." When Kim asks which part he liked, his brother just shrugs, wondering how he should know. Kim then suggests he try singing the chorus. But how can his brother remember something he only heard once? Confused, he asks why Kim is even asking. Kim doesn't respond. This was exactly what he wanted to test. Before they can continue, his brother reminds him that his phone is ringing. Answering, Kim finds the composer furious at his lack of response to the music. Feeling slightly disappointed, she had high expectations. Inwardly, Kim knows the song is great. It just needs more impact to be memorable. Their playful banter continues, and he reveals that she actually spent only 45 minutes making it. 30 minutes were just getting inspiration, which involved insulting him, and the rest for recording the song. She jokingly accuses him of having surveillance on her. Then he tells her that since he went out of his way to find her and test her skills, he has nothing more to say. Panicked, she pleads with him to wait. Bro is really having the time of his life messing with her. After the call, Kim sees his next target on a broadcast. When he asks if the guy is famous, his brother confirms it. As Kim and the system enjoy their meal, he reflects on his next move. Before meeting Blue Tiger, he had spent time researching scandals. That's how he discovered the chart manipulation. At the same time, he came across Ju Woozing, his next target. Now, everything makes sense, and Kim can't wait to meet him. The scene changes to a cafe. Kim is casually waiting for someone inside. At the same time, he gets a message from Blue Tiger. Feeling smug, she sends him another song, and when she doesn't get the response she wants, she goes on a full-blown rant. Nearby, a group of girls notices Kim. They chat about him, saying he looks good but isn't famous. Probably just a trainee. Kim picks up on this, thanks to the helpful system giving him extra charisma after completing a quest. However, their conversation, especially about their favorite idol, makes him feel awkward. Just then, the man himself arrives, Ju Woozing, the idol Kim has set his sights on. The girls freeze in shock upon seeing him. Kim takes this as his cue to leave while the girls are still processing what's happening. Astonishingly, Ju Woozing is a super popular idol with over 40 million followers and is the center of attention in his group, the Black Boys. However, he seems somewhat annoyed upon seeing Kim. The girls react excitedly. Since they're in a public place, Kim suggests they talk at Ju Woozing's place, surprising him. Meanwhile, one of the blonde-haired girls urges her friend to capture the moment. She even lied to her parents just to see her idol. She can't leave without proof. Noticing that they're his fans, Ju Woozing politely asks them to delete the photo. But Kim has a better plan. He boldly declares that he'll call the police. Panicked, the girls swear they'll delete the photo. Thankfully, Kim notes that these girls were innocent. Some fans are way worse than stalkers. But Ju Woozing doesn't share his sympathy. He finds stalkers disgusting, and his annoyance is obvious. Scene change to Ju Woozing's place. Kim arrives at Ju Woozing's home and can't help but compliment his taste. The next moment, Ju Woozing presses for answers. He knows Kim wants something from him. With a smirk, Kim brings up the ongoing rumors about Woozing's dating life. The fool is completely stunned. How does Kim have all this information like it's some kind of album collection? Seeing Woozing blame the woman involved, Kim calls him a piece of trash, wondering why women are even interested in him. Desperate, Woozing asks Kim to name his price. Kim is pissed. Sure, he needs money for rent, but this guy thinking he can just buy his silence is infuriating. Before Woozing can rant further, Kim abruptly silences him. Now seriously, Kim states that he's an idol. He doesn't need his money. This makes Woozing even more curious. He can't figure out Kim's intentions. To his shock, Kim declares that he wants him. Well, more specifically, he wants his followers to build his own fame. Elsewhere, a random otaku is scrolling through social media when he suddenly freezes. Ju Woozing finally posted after what seemed like ages. Even more shocking, the post is a picture featuring our boy, and it's already trending. The scene shifts to the next day at our boy's agency. Kim notices how rundown the practice hall looks. Even though he was only gone for 2 days, it feels like ages. Now deciding to focus on the main issue at hand, his train of thought is interrupted by the youngest member of the group, who was worried sick. He demands to know why Kim wasn't answering his calls while Kim tries to come up with an excuse. Kim just points out that he was only gone for 2 days. Remembering how things went down, Lee Chai explains that those 2 days felt like hell, and they were on the verge of disbandment. But despite everything, they never gave up, which makes Kim question why. Since Kim came back earlier than expected, he assumes he failed to get the song. Seeing Kim remain unfazed by this assumption, Lee Chai starts to wonder if he actually got it. Kim, on the other hand, can tell they don't believe him, so he chooses to remain silent. Anyway, the entire group is now gathered, and Kim apologizes for not calling, explaining that he didn't have time. Jaewon suddenly places a hand on Kim's shoulder, inquiring hopefully, knowing Hyun-soo's temper and that nothing went wrong during his meeting with her. But seeing Kim's sudden change in expression, he starts having second thoughts. The next moment, the entire group turns pale as Kim reports what happened on his tablet. We then flash back to when Kim received another song. As expected, the composer went full-on narcissist mode, excitedly telling Kim to be prepared because she's going all out, making sure they reach the top. Reflecting on this, Kim wonders if such an attitude will eventually lead to her downfall, or if this is just what makes a person a genius. Back in the present, the group is still fixated on the song. Kim pulls out his phone and finally tells them that he got it. The moment the music starts playing, the entire group is captivated, just as Kim expected. They can't possibly imagine the tigress actually working with Kim. Just then, Kim reminds them that he promised to get the song. Hearing this, they all breathe a sigh of relief. Lee Chai is the first to speak, noting that the song is amazing. At the same time, the youngest begins crying, clearly moved by the music, but immediately denies it when teased. Seeing this, Kim fully understands. It's been 6 months, and the only thing they've been practicing is that ridiculous pineapple song. These guys have been through hell. They start crowding around Kim like he's some kind of deity who just answered their prayers. Even the leader, who was skeptical at first, acknowledges that Kim has done a great job. Well, now that that's settled, in a flash, Kim swiftly hands everyone a document. Explaining its contents, he says it includes the dance route, lyrics, and a bunch of other materials. Jaewon still looks a bit clueless. Kim's demeanor suddenly changes as he instructs them to draft the planning of the project by the afternoon, determined to wrap everything up within a month. The leader tries to assert his authority, but he's immediately silenced. Since Kim went out of his way to get the song, Jaewon assures him they'll take care of the rest. At that moment, the manager arrives. Kim sees this as perfect timing, but the guys ask if he isn't staying with them. Kim, however, has matters to settle with the chairman. Finally, at the chairman's office, the old man greets Kim warmly. Without Kim saying a word, the chairman already knows why he's here. Because of the contract. He advises Kim to at least set an appointment next time. Quickly, he gestures for the contract to be brought in. The manager adds that the contract was redrafted to match Kim's standards. Kim glances at the terms. It's an 80-20 profit split. A deal so bad that a clueless trainee would sign it without thinking. Meanwhile, the manager talks about reworking the project and setting up a new contract. This piques the chairman's interest. At the same time, Kim is surprised the chairman wasn't aware of this. It turns out the reworked project is actually the comeback of the idol group. The manager, practically sparkling, reports Kim's success in getting a song from the Blue Tiger. Kim is frustrated, wondering why the manager would drop such a bomb like that. But the chairman seems somewhat doubtful. Kim immediately reassures him, promising to send over a sample. Still maintaining his calm demeanor, the chairman bluntly states that their old song was trash. Kim remains composed, but internally, he He's calling the man a bastard. He knew the song was trash, yet he still made the kids perform it. Anyway, the chairman taps his fingers, realizing they need to rework the project and inform the planning team. But there's still a major concern. There's no additional budget. Something Kim will have to figure out. Kim, seeing this, asks about the company's in-house dance team. The old man immediately reminds him that they are an acting agency. Now seriously, Kim suggests they hire one. The chairman responds in the same tone, saying they lack the funds. Meanwhile, the manager watches their back and forth, wishing he could just go home. After some time, Kim proposes 2 changes to the contract. The chairman agrees to a 70-30 split, feeling that Kim is really something else. But then, Kim drops a bomb. He declares that he will be taking 70%. Well, it makes sense. The old man is just dumping all the responsibility on him anyway. At first, the chairman thinks he misheard. But when Kim repeats his terms, the old man feels his blood pressure rising. Kim doesn't care, reminding them that they only have a month to make the comeback happen. Angrily, the chairman snaps back, pointing out that a good song and investment aren't enough. They also need to create buzz and hype. He acknowledges that Kim is working hard, but effort alone won't cut it. Kim knows this all too well. He briefly explains how generating hype for an idol is crucial. Without it, it's basically a death sentence. So, the real question is, how will they create it? Well, that was his job for years as an editor. Seeing Kim's expression, the chairman assures him he'll reconsider the profit split. Right on cue, a staff member suddenly bursts into the office with urgent news, startling everyone. Kim, however, remains indifferent. This was within his expectations. Quickly, she apologizes for interrupting their meeting but says the matter is urgent. Then, loudly, she announces, the company's phone lines are completely jammed with calls. When the chairman asked for details, she told them that Ju Woozing's investors and fans were calling to ask if there was a collaboration between our boy and him. The manager's jaw nearly dropped, and the chairman was in disbelief. So she told them everything, pointing out that Ju Woozing made a post about Kim a few hours ago. The system complimented him, but the content of the post made Kim a bit awkward, because he specifically told the guy what to post. Let's shift back a few hours ago. During his meeting with Ju Woozing, the guy is sweating out his balls asking if Kim wanted his body. Kim brushed off the nonsense, simply requesting that he post a few pictures and reels on his account about him. This surprised Ju Woozing. Thinking it wasn't a big deal, he sighed in relief. Kim briefly explained that a single post on his socials was valued at 10 million won, which is $10,000, using this as an opportunity to create buzz for himself and the comeback. Despite being sick of the guy's guts, no one can resist a cat video, so Kim decided to play with the cat, seeing how affectionate it was. Meanwhile, the fool is jealous that the cat didn't even play with him. We see the reel of Kim. Astonishingly, the video was already trending. Kim watched, complimenting Ju Woozing for being a great actor while Ju Woozing felt like Kim was forcefully making him accept gratitude. Back to the present, the manager asked how he was connected to such a big shot, while our boy explained that they were just friends. However, he didn't believe him. Meanwhile, the staff informed the chairman that Kim was now a hot topic in searches and discussions. The chairman immediately asked her to leave. Kim suddenly drew his attention. He is sure he would bring them to the top of the charts if the planning was left to him. The chairman broke a sweat, still doubting Kim's words. With a smile, he reassured the old man that it was possible, and that he could do it in a day. Doubtful, thinking he was just talking big, Kim's attention was drawn to the contract, and he decided to make things interesting for the chairman. So he brought up his previous condition for the contract. The first was profit sharing, and the second condition, Kim happily suggested they add a penalty clause. In other words, he would pay double the company's investment if the project failed. Now very serious, the chairman called him by name. I honestly thought he would disagree, but to everyone's shock, he agreed. The manager was stunned at the penalty clause. In addition, Kim suggested the profit split be 60-40. With him taking 60, now turning the whole thing into a fight over the profit split. But Kim stuck to his guns at 60%. Realizing Kim was stubborn, the old man finally agreed. Our boy thanked him. Well, he was only making an exception due to the penalty clause, making Kim ask to be called when the contract was finalized. Just before leaving, the chairman, in a different demeanor, advised him to take full responsibility. Kim chuckled at the mention of responsibility. He had always been taking responsibility, remembering how he swore to make trainees to be stars. And even after his parents died, he took full responsibility for his brother. No matter the case, He was determined to take full responsibility. The system was moved to see this, immediately generating a task to reward him when he got the song on the chart. On the other hand, the manager expressed concern. Seeing this, Kim immediately told him not to tell the group, adding that the comeback was very important, and the guy understood. Scene changed to the practice room. Kim was happy that the guys weren't slacking off. Seeing Kim just arrive, the guys cheerfully explained that they had completed the dance routine. Well, since there were no additional funds to hire a professional team, they had to do it themselves. Kim was a bit doubtful that these pineapple heads could come up with something, but the youngest excitedly pointed at the leader, recounting his great contribution. Now both he and Jaiwon expressed gratitude, which the system informed increased Kim's favorability toward them. Chai Li joined the conversation, pulling Kim over to watch the dance routine. Kim believed it wasn't a bad idea since the boys worked hard to prepare. Astonishingly enough, the guys made it easy to follow while keeping it in line with the current trend. He noted that Young Dajuin was slightly behind, not because he was bad, but because the others were too good. However, when he suddenly saw sick acrobatics, his mood immediately changed. The manager, like a kid tasting candy for the first time, was practically crying with excitement, saying they were awesome, but they were concerned about Kim's opinion. Kim struggled to come up with something reasonable, but he was quickly pulled by Chai Li to join them, since they also needed to sync with the leader, which made Song Hyun excited, thinking the moment had finally arrived. Chai Li immediately asked the manager to start the music at his count, but things weren't going as Song Hyun expected. As they all turned their attention to Kim, they all had the question, why was our boy so clumsy? The poor boy was probably wishing he could vanish. Anyway, Hyun decided to repeat the steps slowly, but Kim was as stiff as a board. This brought a huge concern, as they all remembered him being great at dancing. Kim anxiously explained that it must be due to his illness. He had forgotten how to dance. The fact that they had to remind him that their comeback was only a month away irritated him. However, Jaiwon suggested Kim try one more time, while the others wondered if it was a good idea. Next, Kim was completely exhausted. While the group was surprised, he had memorized the steps completely. Now Young Dajuin was curious, asking how it was possible, but Kim just replied that he just remembered. Even though he had memorized the steps, the fact remained, he couldn't dance, which made him wish he could punch him instantly. Now that they had discovered his problem, Jaiwon assured Kim that his case wasn't hopeless. Kim was a bit taken aback. Alright, they were all depending on each other for the group's success. Reflecting on that, Kim accepted their support. He would learn from them, and he was determined to make it work. Just as the group was deep into practice, the manager barged in, reminding them it was time for the planning team meeting. They had almost forgotten, thanks to Kim's absolutely terrible dancing. Our boy was so done with him that he even threatened to end the fool's existence right then and there. Even the system couldn't hold back, straight up calling Kim's dancing awful. The poor guy was helpless, but seeing this tragedy unfold, the system decided to generate a task to help him. Though, let's be real, it felt like a trap. Still, Kim believed that with more practice he'd improve. So, he made up his mind to wrap up the meeting quickly. However, midway through, he started questioning his life choices and ended up leaving the planning to the fools. The team leader, a brown-haired lady, chuckled, amused at the fact that they had no plan at all. Well, that was expected since they decided to rework the project at the last minute. In an attempt to salvage the situation, Kim quickly suggested coordinating at a steady pace. Surprisingly, she noticed that he had become a hot topic. Apparently, they haven't seen each other in a while, which made him flash an awkward smile, obviously meeting her for the first time. She, on the other hand, was taken aback. Despite presenting a ridiculous plan, Kim led the conversation with confidence. Even his group members were a bit nervous. Regardless, Kim took the time to appreciate everyone's hard work and thank them again. The team leader wishes she could punch him. She just wanted him to get lost. Young Dajuin chimed in, irritating her even more. Sensing the tension, Kim pulled out his phone, saying the plan was great, but due to the new song, some changes were necessary. To prove his point, he decided to play the song for them. Soon enough, the entire planning team was captivated. The leader, arms crossed, wondered if the song was from Blue Tiger. Kim confirmed, saying they just got lucky. Now seriously, the team leader asked for Kim's opinion. He started by asking if she knew what was most important for a low-profile group. After a slight hesitation, she answered, public acceptance. Seeing her uncertainty, One of her subordinates spoke up, giving a firmer answer, an otaku fanbase. Kim immediately agreed, relieved that there was always at least one person with great intuition on a team. He then explained how using an otaku fanbase as a core foundation was a unique approach with endless lore potential. The girl nodded in understanding. Deciding on a post-apocalyptic theme, Kim will like the team to proceed. The otaku girl, clearly excited, urged everyone to start working immediately, much to the surprise of her coworkers. Her leader just stood there, watching her ramble on, completely forgetting work ethics. Meanwhile, the guys agreed to follow Kim's suggestion. Next, Kim suggested that the otaku girl take the lead since she was the most knowledgeable. The leader was concerned but had no choice but to agree. With recording starting soon, Kim hoped to finalize the project's direction and distribution in time. The team leader was about to say something, but the otaku girl quickly volunteered to finish everything by the next day. Kim happily agreed and planned to send her the song. Chai Li, watching this whole negotiation go down, raised an eyebrow and asked if Kim was on drugs. Kim simply told the blockhead to go back and practice. And with that, the meeting finally came to a close. Meanwhile, Kim messaged Blue Tiger about his recording schedule. As expected, he wanted a few tweaks to the lyrics, and as usual, she had no choice but to agree. The cussed-out boy cracked a smile, right before someone interrupted him. It was the team leader, acknowledging that he did a great job and seemed different. Honestly, we need to give her an actual name instead of just calling her team leader. Anyways, working with Kim made her feel a bit excited and relieved since she had been concerned at first. At the same time, the otaku girl lowered her head slightly before leaving. The system, witnessing this, commented that she was a proactive person. Kim agreed, knowing she'd be a great help in the future. Regardless, the system congratulated him for completing the task, unlocking a special system in the process. The system explained that this special feature functioned like a store where he could accumulate points and purchase necessary items. While browsing, Kim came across an interesting item. Suspicious, he asked if it was some kind of dance buff. The system immediately shut that idea down, telling him to work harder instead. Still, he made the transaction, knowing it would be useful in the coming days. Back to the practice hall, the boys looked utterly exhausted. Kim was lying on the floor, breathless. Even after memorizing the steps, it seemed like he still couldn't dance properly. Realizing they had been practicing for over 4 hours, they finally decided to take a short break. At first, Jaewon was confused, but after checking his phone, he realized it had been a while. Taking a break wasn't a bad idea after all. Still, Song-hyun brought up the idea of continuing practice. When the others misunderstood, he clarified, saying that rest is also a part of training. Chai Li acknowledged this, while Young Da-juing joked about having practice engraved on his tombstone when he dies. This earned him a light smack on the head. Next, Song-hyun decided to head to the convenience store since they had run out of water. Kim suggested tagging along, and the playful banter continued as they walked to the store. At the convenience store immediately upon arrival, the boys prioritized selecting their preferred canned drinks. Kim picked one up, causing Hyun to ask if he was actually going to drink it. Ignoring him, Kim quickly headed to the counter to pay. At the same time, he realized something. Hyun was incredibly considerate. That's why he was the leader. However, Kim was startled to see Hyun already done with his shopping. And then, awkward silence. Hyun had noticed something. Among Kim's items were cigarettes. Now it made sense why Kim rushed to the counter. Before he could say anything, Hyun shot him a gaze. The kind that screamed, "Don't even think about it." Outside the store, Kim was utterly dejected, wondering how he could possibly quit smoking in this lifetime. Seeing his downcast expression, Hyun stated, "Fans don't like idols who smoke." Kim shrugged it off, saying nothing would happen if there was no evidence. But Hyun completely ignored him. Now seriously, he turned to Kim and asked, what exactly did he discuss with the chairman in his office? Kim tells Hyun that they discuss reworking the project and mentions visiting Blue Tiger to make adjustments to their lyrics. Hyun acknowledges this, commenting that our boy has changed. When Kim asks what he means, Hyun says he seems a bit different from last year. Kim brushes it off, inwardly noting Hyun's sharp intuition. Nonetheless, Hyun wholeheartedly thanks him. Everyone had been on the verge of giving up, but now things are looking a lot better. He repeats his thanks once more. Next, we see an online post of Kim on a forum. Kim is definitely trending on search. On the other hand, our boy notices he's getting some hateful comments. It's normal for viral content, but still, the hype isn't quite enough. Just then, Chai-li approaches, offering him a drink. With his arms crossed, he asks why Kim has been practicing non-stop. It seems like our boy has been skipping sleep. Kim immediately shifts the focus to Hyun, leaving them surprised as he takes his drink. Hyun casually reminds him that Kim still can't dance, regardless. Jaewon agrees, almost adding fuel to the fire, asking why there hasn't been any improvement. Meanwhile, Young Dajiwon, literally on the verge of collapse, believes they might actually die if they keep up this practice routine. Jaewon suggests they take a break and have lunch before continuing practice. The youngest, feeling smug, proudly shows off his card. He just got his allowance and is ready to cover the bill. When the others refuse, he pouts and suggests he at least buy the ice cream. The scene shifts to a store where the group is picking out their items. Just then, someone notices our boy. A girl, realizing it's actually him, since the entire group is present, she's hoping for a moment with them. For a second, the fools are stunned, completely forgetting that they're celebrities. Jaewon is the first to approach, thanking her for the compliment, which only makes the girl even more excited. Meanwhile, Kim just watches, enjoying the scene, until he notices something through the store's window outside. A suspicious-looking guy is following an old lady. Suddenly, the guy dashes forward and snatches the old lady's bag. Without hesitation, Hyun takes off after him. As expected, his intuition is spot on. Song-hyun relentlessly chases the thief. The guy is really going full Spider-Man mode, successfully pinning the guy down, but he doesn't notice the dagger the guy is pulling out. Thankfully, Kim had followed and prevented what could have been a disaster. Song-hyun is momentarily shaken, not realizing the guy had a knife, but Kim urges him to hold him down. Thinking fast, Kim considers calling the police, but the red-haired one already has it covered. The rest of the group helps the old lady, who thanks them profusely. Meanwhile, the girl from the store, she filmed everything in 4K. Time passes, and the police arrive. Surprisingly, the robber had been following the old lady from the bank and managed to avoid surveillance. Despite everything, the old lady still refuses to let go of their hands, thanking them repeatedly. Kim, seeing that the situation is handled, suggests they head out. When asked if Song-hyun is injured, he thanks Kim for stepping in, especially since their comeback is right around the corner. Meanwhile, the girl from the store is nowhere to be seen. Kim notices this but decides not to dwell on it. Next, we see Kim inside a car. He figures the girl must have uploaded the video. And just as expected, they're trending in the live section. Kim finally finds the video post. Turns out, the girl is just a light fan. She only really follows top idols. Her friend, on the other hand, is very dedicated to rookie groups, especially Dawn Group. The post describes how she randomly spotted a bunch of handsome guys at the store, only to realize they were them. She then goes into a painstakingly detailed description of Kim's facial expressions during the incident. She recounts the entire scene with the robber, and concludes with Chai-li calling the police. Skimming through the comments, Kim notices that the 12th person seems to have some issues. Before he can think too much about it, the driver announces that they've arrived at their destination. Young Dajiwon suddenly looks worried, asking about their destination. Kim reassures him, it's just a recording session, no dancing involved. Chai-li, completely unsurprised, simply nods. Kim gives him a sharp look. At the same time, Young Dajiwon finally sees the news. They're actually trending. Meanwhile, Jaewon is a bit anxious, remembering how they were once on the verge of disbandment. Now, things have taken a completely different turn. Hyun shares the same sentiment. Jaewon, however, remains optimistic, believing that things will go well. But just then, the atmosphere shifts as they see Blue Tiger's demeanor. The group collectively freezes like sheep. Kim, however, remains calm, until he realizes why she's day drinking. It's because of him. Seizing the moment, the boys immediately introduce themselves. She looks them over, seeing that they've really been going through a lot. Casually, she asks for a cigarette. Kim's expression darkens instantly. Apparently, it's because of a minor being present in their group, though it's clearly just an excuse. She scoffs at Kim's reasoning, but he doesn't budge. Now seriously, she finally looks at Kim and tells him to show her what he's prepared. Next, she looks at the concept they were planning. The group watches anxiously, waiting for her response. Astonishingly, she likes it. She acknowledges that the concept fits the song perfectly and is in line with current trends. Kim suddenly chimes in with a suggestion, irritating her as she asks if he plans to teach her how to do her job. Nonetheless, since the lyrics need some tweaks, she's open to suggestions from the guys. Next, they discuss the style and direction of the music. Meanwhile, Young Dajuan excitedly suggests keeping a particular phrase in the song intact, which she acknowledges. Watching her work so passionately, more excited than even the guys, anyone who saw this will assume she was the one making a comeback. And that's exactly why he likes her. Now that they're done with the lyrics, she suggests revising them, and using them as a guide and trying to sing them. Wasting no time, she calls on Jaewon, the main vocalist, to start. Kim notices how nervous Jaewon looks as he steps into the recording booth. But before they begin, Hyunsu teases him, saying their group isn't as rude as the adorable bastard. Somehow, Kim takes this as a weird compliment. Still, she cheerfully notes that she's worked with a lot of idols, but it feels refreshing to work with a group like theirs, one that actually shows potential. This makes Kim ask when she developed a soft spot for them, and their playful banter continues. Now focusing on the recording, she asks if Jaewon is ready. Once he confirms, she gives him the green light to begin. Her expectations are clearly high, making Kim's lips curl slightly. Well, it's pointless to expect anything less from an idol. After all they do is train and sleep. Seeing Jaewon effortlessly hit high notes brings him satisfaction. However, Hyunsu suddenly stops the music. Jaewon looks terrified for a moment, thinking he did something wrong. This immediately grabs the group's attention. But instead of criticism, Hyunsu is actually impressed. She asks how long he's been training. Stuttering, Jaewon first thanks her, then says he's been training for 7 years. She acknowledges this but advises him not to be nervous, which he affirms, finally breathing a sigh of relief. Next up is the rap part. Charlie wastes no time stepping into the recording room. She gives him a simple piece of advice. He needs to pronounce the words correctly. Then comes Hyun, whose vocals are solid but need minor adjustments in the high notes. And lastly, Young Dajuan, who has great charm but needs more practice. Kim watches the guys perform and feels the need to step up his game. However, the next person up is him. She playfully calls him a con artist, but he brushes it off. Still, Kim is ready, determined to drop bombs in the recording room. This makes her crack a smile. As he begins singing, she narrows her eyes, focusing intently. After he finishes, she remains silent. Kim assumes he did something wrong, but contrary to his worries, she asks, who taught him how to sing? You see, most people add fancy vocal techniques to sound impressive, but Kim's voice stands out because it's clean and natural. Kim reveals the reason. It's one of his past projects. Apparently, he worked as an editor for an idol survival program with high ratings, mainly thanks to one thing, the Blue Tiger. Basically, 70% of the harsh comments on the show came from her. Since he was the editor, he replayed those clips a dozen times, learning exactly what pissed her off. However, Hyunsu finds nothing wrong with his singing, except that it's too straight and lacks emotion. So she suggests he finish his part, and she'll add harmony to his vocals, which he agrees to. But when he does, she's astonished. Thanks to his experience as an editor, Kim perfectly syncs the harmony. She acknowledges that he has a solid foundation but still needs a little tweaking. The boys seize the opportunity to praise his talent, joking that Kim is like a vending machine that spits out whatever is needed. Meanwhile, Kim wonders, was he too good, or did they just have low expectations because of his dancing? Blue Tiger also chimes in, saying the song might compete with top songs on the charts. And of course, her narcissistic side kicks in, praising herself as a genius. Nonetheless, the recording finally comes to an end. Before leaving, though, she suddenly asks Kim something. Does he have any business with Ju Woozing? Or did he personally threaten him? Kim doesn't respond. She laughs, like she already knows the answer. Then, she also wants to confirm something. Was he filming a music video with director Young? Kim nods. She takes a sip of her drink and casually comments, that guy is always out for people's money, but sometimes, he gets results if he's serious. Kim realizes they're actually the same in that regard. This annoys her a bit. Then, she reveals something surprising. She actually spoke to the director to make sure he takes good care of the boy group. He doesn't even understand why she's being nice to him, which irritates her further. With her arms crossed, she seriously suggests that he take this seriously. After all, her name and reputation are on the line. At the same time, the system informs Kim that his relationship with the director has improved and that he has completed his mission. Kim walks away, reassuring her that he'll bring another bottle, but she still reminds him to be more serious. Meanwhile, we see an online forum. Kim is the subject of discussion. Our boy is racking up more hateful comments. Ju Woozing sees this and understands things are looking bad. And what's even more annoying is the fact Kim invited him to come to his agency. The poor guy is just being pushed around. Ju Woozing is deep in thought. It's been a week since they last met. Ever since that robbery incident and his post online, his group's popularity has skyrocketed. But now, he's wondering if it was a good idea to let his own manager handle Kim. That is, if Kim doesn't leak the news about his dating life. With no other choice, he finds himself at a rundown agency, feeling thoroughly annoyed. How dare Kim drag someone like him to a place like this? Meanwhile, Kim has been waiting for the fool. Ju Woozing ignores any greeting and heads straight to the reason he was called here. But when he gets no response, he calls out again, only to freeze at the sight before him, seeing Kim looking completely out of it. That's when Ju Woozing realizes, this guy is sick. But Kim, being Kim, brushes it off like it's nothing to enter his thoughts. Kim reviews his current state, all thanks to the system. The system is telling him to complete a quest, but bro totally ignores it. Instead, he asks Ju Woozing if he knows why he's here. Of course, the guy is clueless. Kim then informs him that they need a coach before the video shoot. That's all it takes for Ju Woozing to burst into laughter, completely unbothered by the fact that Kim could flip his life upside down with a single click. Anyways, the scene shifts to the practice room. The cameraman is visibly shocked to see Ju Woozing, and for good reason. Our boy didn't even inform the poor guy that the shoot had already started. Ju Woozing, being the professional he is, quickly takes control of the situation. Still annoyed at Kim, he suggests that the cameraman keep filming, but deep down, he's already plotting for being dragged into this mess. Now, it's time to see Kim dance. A while later, Kim is utterly exhausted. Thanks to the system's penalty, he feels like he could pass out at any moment. Ju Woozing raises an eyebrow. Is our boy just sick, or is he naturally clumsy? Because honestly, Kim is still as stiff as a wooden board. Young Dajuan, ever the supportive one, defends him, saying that he's improved a little. Ju Woozing, deep in thought, comments that their overall performance isn't bad, but they need to fill in the gaps with better gestures, especially during solo parts. He then demonstrates it himself. Flawlessly, of course. Kim watches, finally acknowledging that Ju Woozing isn't just a pretty face. The guy actually has talent. Now, with the rest of the group done, Ju Woozing turns his focus entirely to Kim. Like a true professional, he gives his insight, and Kim suddenly feels a sense of déjà vu. Ju Woozing points out that he's still stiff and lacks emotion when he sings. He then instructs Kim to put some real feeling into his performance. Several failed attempts later, Ju Woozing is officially out of patience. He demonstrates it himself, and in an instant, the entire group is mesmerized. Well, the guy didn't reach the top by doing nothing. This time, Kim tries to follow his lead. The group's eyes light up like kids seeing candy, completely astonished by his improvement. In response, Ju Woozing gives Kim a weird compliment, which does not sit well with him. Sensing the tension, Ju Woozing quickly suggests running through the entire routine again. Throughout the practice, he corrects a few details, and by the end, he actually believes they'll succeed in their debut. Kim, on the other hand, realizes that bringing Ju Woozing was a great idea. Thanks to him, they've been improving quickly, but the status effect from the system is getting worse. Noticing Kim's condition, Ju Woozing suggests taking a short break. Next, we see Kim in the restroom. The system is once again urging him to complete the task, but he's not planning on doing that anytime soon. Just then, Ju Woozing arrives, not expecting Kim to be holding out this long. He calls him out for practicing while sick, calling it dumb. He then asks if Kim has seen a doctor, but Kim doesn't answer. This leads Ju Woozing to assume that he's afraid of hospitals. Well, since Kim can't exactly explain the real reason, he just ignores the question and focuses on practicing. But Ju Woozing stops him immediately, curious about his reason for working so hard. He knows Kim doesn't seem passionate about being an idol. So is he doing it for the group? Kim remains silent for a moment, before talking about taking responsibility and wanting to make it big. Ju Woozing, unimpressed, calls him weird but lets it slide. He figures Kim is just playing mysterious, concluding, our boy is just rude. However, when they return to the practice room, the atmosphere has completely changed. Jaewon rushes over to Kim, trembling. Their song has been leaked online. Panic spreads through the group, but Ju Woozing notices something strange. Kim isn't panicking. He's calm, too calm. Ju Woozing stares at him in confusion, only to see Kim smiling at his system window. It turns out that he failed to complete the task, which was supposed to prevent the leak. And now, the closer he gets to the deadline, the worse the system's effect becomes. If this keeps up, Kim is definitely going to collapse. The next scene begins in the hospital room, where the system informs Kim about the failed quest and the end of its penalty. But our boy is more concerned about his little brother. He wakes the guy from his sleep. Poor kid looks like someone who's been terrified that Kim wouldn't wake up. Kim understands. He's the only family he has left. Kim starts by asking if he was crying. The little bro denies it and quickly decides to fetch a doctor. As he leaves, Kim checks his phone, unsure how long he was out. He realizes he still has time for the main shoot, along with a bunch of missed calls and 278 messages. To his surprise, the messages are from a group chat made by his group, which he had no idea even existed. Just as he's about to reply, Ju Woozing calls him. It's strange, this guy has never reached out first before. Still, Kim answers casually, telling him to get straight to the point. As usual, the guy is annoyed by Kim's laid-back attitude. Kim, being Kim, asks if he's gonna hang up, which leads Ju Woozing to finally get to the reason for the call. He suspects Kim knows about the leak incident, which Kim doesn't deny. When asked why he didn't stop it, Kim's response just makes him even more annoyed. Kim casually explains it was all part of a viral marketing strategy to gauge public reaction. Ju Woozing gets it, noting the song actually received a good response and is slowly building a fanbase. We also see he had the same conversation with Blue Tiger. Anyway, Kim thanks him for the call and the update. But suddenly, Ju Woozing apologizes. Our boy is puzzled, but before he can respond, Woozing calls him a con artist for tricking people. Kim casually confirms by telling him he saved his number as pushover, which deeply irritates him, and he starts cursing. Their conversation continues, with Ju Woozing admitting he was wrong and saying that Kim working so hard made him question what he was doing with his life. Of course, our boy teases him, saying if he were a priest, he should confess his sins, successfully pushing his buttons as always. Just then, the doctor arrives, so Kim ends the call, thinking he should at least change the guy's contact name. Honestly, I was expecting a female doctor. Anyway, his group storms into the room, making our boy super awkward, even trying to deny them. Next, we see a chat from his little brother advising him not to push himself. Kim acknowledges it, and reassures him that now he's discharged, he has to head to the studio for the main shoot. Just then, Jaewon starts showing concern, reminding him again not to overdo it. Kim reassures him not to worry. The rest of the group also chimes in with their concern, but Kim just wants them to focus on taking care of themselves. Time passes, and the group finally arrives at the company studio. While the group is mesmerized by the building, Kim thinks differently. He lets us know the place is totally rundown. Next, Director Young approaches with a warm greeting, informing them about the shoot routine. As Kim approaches, the director somehow already knows him, of course, the handiwork of our Blue Tiger. Kim promises to do his best, reassuring the director with a smile. Soon, a staff member arrives with their outfits. The group is astonished by how good Kim looks. The outfit almost seems tailor-made for him. Jaewon, on the other hand, is filming behind the scenes at the request of their manager. For some reason, we still don't know his name. Anyway, they continue preparing for the shoot. Just then, Lee Chai decides to film a staff member, and Seongjin tries to stop him. When he refuses, the group is stunned hearing their comeback song. One of the staff compliments the song, making the younger members visibly happy. Even our boy feels the same, despite practicing the song countless times. Hearing it now, he gets emotional. The shoot begins with Jaewon. The director instructs him to be sentimental to match his role. But he's not quite hitting the mark. Seeing this, Young Dajuin teasingly reminds him of a chicken he bought in elementary school, flustering Jaiwon. It actually works, so the director tells him to keep that thought in mind. And the result's spot on. Poor boy keeps muttering chicken during every shot, while Lee Chai watches curiously, trying to understand what's with the chicken. The group watches with dumbfounded expressions as the director keeps telling him to mutter chicken. Next up is their leader, Seongyun. Like Jaiwon, his expression is off, so the director tells him to look a bit colder. Lee Chai steps in, playing the previous role of Young Dajuin, and asks Seongyun how a gentleman greets someone. Kim is taken aback. Are they doing a quiz now? When Seongyun doesn't respond, Lee Chai reveals the answer, instantly shifting the mood. Honestly, Seongyun looks like he could murder someone if they weren't on set. Meanwhile, the director loves it. He's thrilled and tells him to hold that expression. But Lee Chai isn't done cooking. With a mischievous smile, he drags Jaiwon into it, asking him to reveal the next answer. Awkwardly, Jaiwon shouts, "Going up," which only makes Seongyun's expression even colder. Director Young is having the time of his life while poor Jaiwon feels like Seongyun's next victim. Now it's our boy's turn. For someone who's always behind the camera, he never imagined standing in front of one. Director Young tells him not to be nervous and to keep a cunning expression. Kim closes his eyes to focus. Now ready for the shot. The director gives him some minor adjustments. Kim is eager to see the results with the director. To everyone's surprise, he looks great. Even he is shocked. He starts complimenting himself, and the director gives him a playful pat on the back, saying Kim is a very likable person and asking him to keep that same energy for the short movie. With that, he announces a break. Meanwhile, Kim isn't too happy with the facility. The rundown agency keeps drinking water on the floor. Now let's shift to Young Dajuin and the guys. Kim watches them and is reminded of his little brother. But he thinks it's best not to get involved. After all, this is a game, and he's in a parallel dimension. Just then, Young Dajuin approaches him, concerned about Kim's health since he was just discharged not long ago. Kim playfully reassures him not to worry. But the younger one expresses his gratitude, saying everything's been going well thanks to Kim. He starts recounting how he was part of a terrible agency, and it was someone like Kim who helped him escape. Kim is surprised, and Young Dajuin continues, saying the person worked at a broadcast station, looked a lot like Kim, and get this, had the same personality. Kim is momentarily shocked. But their conversation is interrupted. As Young Dajuin walks away, Kim watches him leave, suspicious and deep in thought. Still, he decides to set the matter aside, for now. Let's shift to a random otaku coming back home, complaining about work. She's a bit exhausted and plans on spending the entire evening watching cat videos. However, while scrolling through her phone, she suddenly stops after seeing a post about the Dawn Idol group. She instantly recognizes them, obviously, since their song got leaked, which turned out to be a viral marketing strategy. Regardless, she follows the link to watch their short film online. The film begins with Jaiwon ending the lives of Lee Chai and Young Dajuin, or so it seems. Afterward, he apologizes, then ends his own life in the process. The girl is stunned by the brutal beginning, not understanding anything, just like us, and wonders why he took his own life. Now, she watches with clear anticipation. The moment the comeback song begins, Jaiwon slowly opens his eyes. He feels overwhelmed, realizing he's back. Staring at his reflection, he begins thinking about his next move. Meanwhile, we see a person in a dark room shuffling a deck of cards. Next, he starts revealing the cards. And in the next moment, he places one in his pocket, certain that the odds are in his favor. Just as the song continues, we see Young Dajuin and Seongyun seemingly running away or trying to escape. Meanwhile, Lee Chai takes aim with his rifle, targeting Young Dajuin, who's trying to flee. With the task done, he receives a signal. Just then, Jaiwon arrives at the scene, which looks exactly like the beginning, and tries to take his life once more, only for the gun to be knocked away in the process. But it wasn't done by Lee Chai. Anyway, Jaiwon tries reaching for his pistol again. Only this time, it's kicked even further from him. The guy is petrified, meeting our boy's cunning and cold demeanor present at the scene. After displaying a random scene, possibly time travel, which we'll understand eventually. Nonetheless, Kim finally reveals the card, now showing a cunning smile. As the 3.5-minute video comes to an end, the girl is still processing the video in silence. But in the next moment, she shows different emotions, writing a long comment. But more importantly, someone has already analyzed the video and provided a link in the comments. She's stunned after learning the entire concept of the short film. Let's shift to our boy group. Jaiwon happily informs them about their real-time ranking and the growing views on the short film. Apparently, the two guys pulled an all-nighter, refreshing the platform's page to see the chart ratings. Thankfully, their song made it onto 2 streaming platforms. Even though they're at the 90th position, making it onto the ranking platforms is a huge win. But Kim needs it to be 3 platforms, all ranking at the top, to complete the system task. Right on cue, Seongyun calmly notes that their song has been added to another popular streaming platform. Lee Chai shares his thoughts. Normally the platform only considers the 24-hour accumulated rating. However, that was in the past. Recently, they changed it to calculating real-time ratings. Seongyun shows a surprised expression upon learning this. But our boy already knew that, even back when he was an editor, causing the system to chime in, noticing how calm our boy was, as if he already knew everything. Of course, Kim planned everything and wasn't the least bit concerned about the 24-hour rating. Just then, Seongyun requests Kim to take a look at the movie analysis. Kim is a bit surprised that it was released so quickly. After reading a few lines, Kim turns to him with a curious expression, since the part was about him. But the guy stutters and suggests he keep reading. Anyway, here's the breakdown of the short film. We already know the setting follows a post-apocalyptic theme. The movie is basically a fight between the government and its officials, which includes our boy and Jaiwon, and the resistance, which is the rest of the group. Here's the interesting part. Jaiwon is a regressor, based on him ending his life to return. Now, we shift to our boy revealing the cards, and he stops at the Joker, which turns out to be the key. In other words, Young Dajuan. However, Kim already knew this, but didn't pay attention until he revealed the last card, with a cunning smirk. To understand that, let's shift to Seongyun and Young Dajuan's failed escape. Jaiwon, seeing this, tries to trigger another regression, since things are going south. The reason is tied to the fact that the guy was part of the resistance but was secretly working for the government. And now, we see Lee Chai taking out both his allies. Apparently, the guy was a spy planted in the resistance, and was actually the one who ended Jaiwon before his regression. But this time, he received a signal from our boy. The acknowledgement, revealing the king card to Jaiwon. In the end, Kim knew everything from the start, ultimately preventing another regression and stopping the resistance. Kim is deeply impressed by how detailed the analysis was and the effort put in. Meanwhile, Seongyun timidly informs him that it was written by a fan, leaving our boy in shock. Just then, Young Dajuan informs them to get ready, noticing cameras outside, also telling Kim to stay focused. But our boy isn't concerned, clearly underestimating their performance, and not expecting a huge crowd. However, in the next moment, he's utterly bewildered witnessing the size of the crowd. Even the boys are stunned for a moment. Seongyun is quick to react, suggesting they begin greeting the fans. However, one girl shows great interest and enthusiastic behavior toward our boy, and we can see his shocked expression. The girl even nods in affirmation, holding up a sign with his name. Our boy feels a bit flustered, but Seongjin sees this and reassures him, suggesting he at least say hello. Meanwhile, the group teases our boy for being so timid. Normally, Kim is unfazed, but it makes sense, since he's someone who used to live behind the camera. In the next scene, during his time as an editor, we hear Kim complaining about a proposal. His junior apologizes as Kim continues to scold her for her incompetence. As someone who values results, he demands that the task be completed by the next day. At the same time, he hears people whispering about his attitude toward his junior, saying that acting serious doesn't necessarily mean someone is skilled. Well, comments like that were expected in his line of work. Saying bad things about him had become a noble deed. Eventually, he got used to it. However, in the present, he's still not used to people showing him genuine kindness. The scene changes. Our boy is getting ready for his comeback debut. The lady helping him notes that he looks great, everything he wears suits him. He thanks her, feeling a bit strange inside. Next, his phone vibrates with a message. His playful little brother wishes him luck, Blue Tiger expresses concern about his performance and her song, and Ju Woozing is a bit worried about his reputation. Kim smiles seeing them express concern. Now turning his attention to his group. He can tell they're a bit anxious, praying for a successful comeback. This makes him ask about Jaewon. Song Hyun immediately informs him. Meanwhile, our boy already understands what Jaewon must be feeling, so he decides to go get him himself. While walking through the hallway, he hides beside a vending machine, quickly calling on his system item shop. You see, Jaewon is the most talented in their group. And if he stays nervous, it'll seriously affect their performance. With that in mind, he purchases a medicine pill from the system shop for 300 points. Also grabbing water from the vending machine, he now wonders where Jaewon could be. Jaewon is clearly doing his best to keep it together. Just then, Kim approaches casually, asking what he's doing. Jaewon is slightly surprised to see him. Then he apologizes, admitting he's a bit nervous and didn't want to affect the group's morale. Meanwhile, the helpful system informs us that the poor guy is exhausted from being a trainee and needs our boy to leave a strong impression. Just like that, his next task is generated: help Jaewon and complete the performance safely. However, Kim glares at the system, almost cursing it over the reward. He turns to Jaewon and instructs him to take the pill since it's obvious he's nervous. But Jaewon tries to reject it, despite Kim's persuasive salesman-like efforts. Before he can argue more, Kim casually tosses the pill into his mouth, making Jaewon swallow it instantly. Jaewon complains, but our boy jokes that he's like a little brother who eats anything thrown at him. This makes Jaewon start imagining things, wondering if he really seems like a dog. In no time, he's shocked. The system informs Kim that Jaewon's nervousness has subsided. Jaewon thanks him, but asks if Kim himself ever gets nervous. It's not like he doesn't. After all, he's human, not a machine. But he's just good at hiding it. Now serious, he asks why Jaewon was so nervous in the first place. Seeing his expression makes Jaewon a bit anxious. After a moment, he opens up, saying he's missed countless opportunities as a trainee, and some ended badly. It's not that he isn't happy about their progress. He's just scared their luck will run out, and that this might be his last chance to showcase his talent and finally debut. Kim quietly reflects. You see, when someone takes a step forward after working so hard, they might still fall behind. That's the core of Jaewon's fear. He's scared to move forward, afraid he might lose this opportunity too. Seeing Kim's sudden expression, Jaewon apologizes for saying something so unreasonable, thinking Kim probably never experienced failure. But Kim tells him otherwise. He's had times that weren't smooth sailing. And that makes Jaewon curious. Just then, His eyes widen in disbelief. Kim shows him the scar he got in the accident that took his parents. He calmly recounts everything. From being told he might never use his arm again, to the painful rehab process. And this is the first time he's ever told anyone something only his little brother knew. In other words, he knows exactly what it feels like to work hard and still see no results. Even though it seems unfair, at the very least, everyone is given a chance. And only those who are mentally prepared can seize it. Reflecting, he asks Jaewon if he's truly prepared. Jaewon nods slightly. Once again, Kim reassures him, saying there's no point in whining. Before they leave, Jaewon cheerfully expresses his gratitude, and the system informs Kim that their relationship has become friendly. Meanwhile, our boy seems a bit regretful, wishing their conversation had been recorded. Jaewon lets out a chuckle. Anyway, they finally reunite with the group, and Lee Chai notes they were late. Since they're all together, Song Hyun suggests doing some kind of cheer before heading out. But since they don't have one, they decide to just raise their hands. With that, they place their hands together. Song Hyun gives a short speech, appreciating their hard work over the past month, and hopes they can keep up the same energy for the next one. Lee Chai immediately says how lame the speech was, which slightly infuriates him. Next, each of them follows up with whatever comes to mind. Of course, Lee Chai doesn't miss the chance to tease young Dajuan for using the word challenge, which he says is something only kids use. Dajuan tries to defend himself, to the point he's almost left behind the group. The moment they leave the backstage area, Jaewon calls out to our boy and cheerfully whispers, "Fighting!" Our boy replies with a smile. But deep inside, he wonders, who was the guy really talking to? Suddenly, the lights went out. The announcer began calling their names individually. Finally, the stage lit up, introducing them as the Dawn and the title of their performance. With that, each of them took their starting positions, and Jaewon takes the lead, followed by our boy, causing the girl fans to be flustered like they just spotted their crush. Their performance continues, and now it's the redheads' time to shine, doing the sick acrobatics from their training, playfully firing a laser hand, and successfully capturing a girl's heart in the process. Next, it's our boy who steps forward, his time to solo. At the same time, we see Blue Tiger watching with anticipation, causing the crowd to cheer wildly. Suddenly, the stage lights dimmed, indicating the end of their performance. And just like that, it all ended with our boy singing the last part of the song, and the whole stage erupted with cheers like an earthquake. Finally, they concluded the performance by showing gratitude. Anyways, let's shift to the main story, with a reporter starting the interview by praising their performance. Now turning his attention to Kim, he suggests introducing him to the audience. However, he gets interrupted midway, and even gets a nickname. Kim feels his brain short-circuiting, wondering if he heard that right, leaving the reporter hanging. Regardless, the guy continues, noting that their group has been creating a huge stir thanks to our boy joining. Jaewon agrees, explaining Kim was always a member, but due to health issues, he missed their previous debut. This results in the reporter asking a strange question based on some rumors. This causes Kim to feel on edge, resurfacing unwanted memories. Actually, he has no idea what to say. However, Jaewon's answer brings huge relief, noting that our boy was great at bringing positive energy, even briefing the reporter on how he brought a song from Blue Tiger, which surprises him. Lee Chai also suddenly chimes in, adding to Jaewon's remark, noting he brought the song in just 3 days. Hearing this, the reporter thinks it's a bit exaggerated. Nonetheless, he proceeds, wanting to know more about his connection to Ju Wuzing and Blue Tiger. Our boy answers, explaining he's grateful to have them. But this wasn't the response the guy wanted. Even teasing Kim for sounding like someone thinking about lunch. The group also chimes in. Kim now wants to know why they're all focused on him. But he gets completely ignored as Songhyun cheekily explains how our boy was surprised to learn he had fans. As he continues explaining, the girls take this as an indication to scream our boy's name. Kim quickly adapts, shifting the conversation to Young Dajuan. And now the poor guy wonders why he got dragged in. However, just as the guy was about to continue the interview, he's interrupted with urgent news, making Kim a bit suspicious. At the same time, the crowd is already going wild, making Young Dajuan question things. Seeing the girls on their phones and continuously yelling congratulations, the group exchanges confused glares. Seeing this, the reporter happily shares the good news. Their song Second Chance is now streaming in the top 3 major platforms. And it's placed in the top hundreds. Lee Chai and Songhyun are in utter disbelief, realizing they've charted. Meanwhile, someone keeps reassuring another not to cry. Kim wonders who they're talking about, only to discover Jaewon and the youngest getting emotional. Young Dajuan expresses gratitude. Well, it's all thanks to our boy. Kim acknowledges this but wants him to stop fussing, because he wants him to save those tears until they hit number 1 on the charts. While their leader suggests thanking the audience one last time. With that, they take their final bow. Jaewon, however, wants to express more gratitude. But the guy points at his wristwatch, indicating time's up. With that, Kim takes the initiative to wrap things up, thanking their fans for the great support. And with a radiant smile, he looks forward to their next showcase. Leaving the fans with great anticipation, they all headed backstage. Once again, Jaewon calls out to our boy, which catches his attention. Honestly, how much longer is he going to express his gratitude? Nonetheless, let's shift to the system's reaction. Even though the comeback debut was a success, Kim still has a long way to go, which the system is confident he can achieve with improvement. However, Kim isn't interested in praise. He only wants his rewards for completing the task. This causes the system to pout before offering the rewards, which increase his singing, charisma, and dance stats. However, Kim just wants the system to stop acting and dragging things out. With that, a new display appears. Apparently, the system prepared a gift for him. After completing the first stage of the game, he is now able to view other people's stats. It also advises him to work harder. Kim didn't like that something like this was kept from him, while the cheeky system comments that it was trying to avoid spoilers. However, before he could argue, the manager arrived, relieved to have found him. He informs Kim that the chairman wants to see him. It's not surprising, since news travels fast. Time passes, and his manager assures him not to worry. There's no bad news. The guy is happy and certain the group will start getting proper attention. Kim, on the other hand, concludes the guy is somehow naive. Let's shift to the chairman's office. The old man is on a call. Seeing our boy arrive, his demeanor instantly brightens. Both Kim and his manager are at a loss for words, seeing this rare side of the chairman, and for good reason. This makes the poor guy somewhat anxious. Anyway, the old man begins the conversation by asking about Kim's well-being. Kim, being himself, thanks him and his manager for their support, leading the old man to laugh and note that he's still the same. Then he shifts the topic to the charts, which our boy chalks up to luck. To the chairman, it seems like they're on a lucky streak, but the best part of everything was our boy. Hearing this, Kim presses, asking if something great happened. The manager still finds it strange, seeing the chairman continuously laughing. Regardless, he adjusts his tone. Normally, he'd announce it to the group, but he explains he has 2 pieces of great news. Hearing this, Kim guesses one is related to movie casting. To his surprise, the old man adjusts his composure and firmly states that their group apartment has been settled. Apparently, he's a bit worried about young Dajuan, since he's still a minor and comes from far away. Kim could only curse this man inwardly because he didn't care until recently. But thinking about it, better late than never. Regardless, he drops a second bomb. They'll be doing behind-the-scenes filming, causing Kim to be dumbstruck. Clearly, this ruins his expectations about casting. Nonetheless, he decides to take responsibility for informing the group and wants to leave. But the chairman isn't done. He suggests Kim shouldn't be in a rush. Excited, he drops another bombshell. Apparently, someone on the phone offered them a spot on a variety show. The manager's jaw drops, with his mouth spilling water like a fountain. Still in disbelief, Kim helps the guy up while also asking for more details about the offer. Well, the offer turns out to be one of his previous projects called The Shining Star. However, this time there's a change. Previously, it was meant to differentiate between trainees and debut idols, but now it's a competition between idol groups. He briefly informs them that the producer is stepping down and they're looking for a replacement. But the manager shows some concern. The old man dismisses the concern, saying the network doesn't have a bad reputation, so there's nothing to worry about. Still, the manager anxiously reports about the devilish editor, who is our boy. He explains how they make smaller idol groups seem insignificant while boosting big entertainment companies. Not to mention how our boy can manipulate clips to destroy trainees' images. The manager fears the Dawn group might be disbanded. The chairman remains indifferent. The manager's words just seem to enter one ear and pass through the other, leaving him in shock. However, he wants to hear our boy's opinion. To our boy, this is a huge opportunity. So he happily accepts the offer and even looks forward to it. He's even ready to take full responsibility for convincing the boys. Both the chairman and manager are taken aback by his statement. Hearing this, the old man decides to pass the project planning to him, making sure his group reviews the content carefully. This causes our boy to crack a smile. Well, to Kim, it's best to seize every opportunity to complete the game. Let's shift to our boy's little brother playfully imitating him. The boy continues despite Kim's angry glares. This causes him to be instantly silenced by Kim. He ends up complaining, asking if this is how Kim treats his only family. Kim ignores him, instructing him to eat healthy and avoid too much delivery, while his brother pouts at his nagging. To defuse the tension, Seo Hajin notes that his brother is now a celebrity. Even his classmate used Kim as his profile picture. Kim, on the other hand, doesn't respond. Anyway, he leaves, warning him not to tell anyone that they're siblings, which the boy playfully agrees to. In truth, Kim is worried. Since his face is becoming known, his brother will undeniably be affected. He informs us that when he was an editor, he faced trouble, and things might be worse now that he's an idol. Nonetheless, his brother wishes him well, and Kim acknowledges it. However, in the next moment, Seo Hajin starts role-playing him, making Kim ponder the best way to shut him up. With that, he decides to tease him, not to cry when he's gone. But when he mentions not playing with the pillowcase while he's gone, it makes Seo Hajin awkward. This shifts his mood instantly, making our boy tease him even more. Clearly making fun of him, while the poor guy can only express his anger in silence. Next, we see an online forum, the topic of discussion being our boy's idol group. Kim scrolls through different threads, impressed by fans' comments and reactions. Apparently, picking the otaku fanbase was a great strategy. However, his thoughts are interrupted when he hears their debut song, which makes him feel great. On his way, he's surprised to see a fan. Let's shift to the fan, visibly surprised. On the other hand, Lee Chai has already seized the opportunity to make an impression. Meanwhile, Kim watches, feeling awkward and slightly irritated by the display, clearly expressing his intent not to mingle. Sensing the tension, Lee Chai quickly apologizes, then immediately warns the guy to move aside and stop taking pictures, which only annoys Kim even more. This results in Kim smashing both of them. Song-hyun, watching the scene, doesn't want to get involved, believing they somewhat deserved it. Next, we see the group looking all radiant. Apparently, they've arrived at their apartment and are about to exit the elevator, only to be stunned by their dorm. It seems like their company really went all out. Amidst all the excitement, Kim remains calm, realizing it's a 2-bedroom apartment with a living room. He also spots hidden cameras. One in a bear, one on the television, and finally, on the sofa. While the group remains oblivious and excited, Kim, seeing them act like kids, asks why they're so excited. This causes Song-hyun to be shocked. Reflecting, Kim concludes that these guys are just petty-minded. Soon, staff from the planning team arrive, informing them about the camera filming routine and encouraging them to make themselves at home. Since there are only 2 rooms, they decide to pick their roommates. And to make it fair, they play a simple game. Only for our boy to lose. Now he realizes he's going to be paired with the troublemaker. With that, the room selection is completed. Just then, they're informed that behind-the-scenes filming will take place, which includes filming their reactions and checking what's in their bags. Curious, Kim wonders why they even need to know what's in their bags. Shortly after, filming begins. Lee Chai can't help but tease Jaewon for having half his suitcase filled with herbs. Jaewon casually admits it was his grandma's doing, meant for everyone to enjoy. The guys are moved by her gesture, believing she's a saint. But the truth is, the lady is actually mean to her own grandson. Meanwhile, Kim is already chomping down on one of the herbs, nostalgic about the old days. Young Dajuan happily steps up to go next. Surprisingly, the little one packed only snacks, nothing else. This completely kills the vibe and makes the mood awkward. The red-haired guy is itching to show his bag, like it's a competition. Just like Young Dajuan, only this time it's filled with gaming consoles and a PlayStation 5. Song-hyun insists on handling the suitcase like Young Dajuan, tossing everything away. Ignoring him, the next person is our boy. The guys are stunned to see what he packed. Kim is dazzled as they start talking about him. Apparently, he's taken the men in black look to the next level. Still, he tries defending himself, insisting black is a great color. Finally, it's time for their leader. To everyone's astonishment, Song-hyun actually brought clothes for all of them, even paying attention to their specific needs. He even provided supplements for Kim. When Kim questions why, he reminds him about his weak body, specifically when he fainted, and tells him to take better care of himself. Our boy could only blame the system. In the next scene, they watch their music video. Young Dajuan looks stunned by Jaewon's performance, prompting him to comment on Lee Chae's surprisingly good acting. Bragging a bit, Lee Chai remarks that he's been offered acting roles, but he rejected all of them. Hearing this only makes poor Jaewon envy him more. Next, it's time to see the behind-the-scenes documentary. Meanwhile, our boy's lips curl into a smile, noting that they edited the video just like he suggested. The video highlights interesting moments before the group's debut. With that, the production team wraps things up, and the group thanks them for their hard work. Before leaving, the staff informs them about their music show scheduled for the next day. Meanwhile, our boy approaches Jihyun, personally thanking her, saying she contributed a lot. She tries to downplay it, adding that it was a group effort. Hearing this, Kim offers her full control to plan their next project, since the music show is really important. He wants to lay the groundwork in advance. Disbelief spreads across her face as she asks if she can use anything and everything she wants. Kim simply nods and says yes, then quickly leaves her to rant and dive into planning. Time passes, and Lee Chai suggests they go out for fried pork belly. Young Dajuan is all for it. However, Jaiwon ruins the mood by suggesting they start practicing instead. Meanwhile, our boy is deep in thought, deciding to use a skill he got as a reward after completing the first stage. Curious, he checks Jaiwon's stats. Kim knows the guy is talented, but he's puzzled by how low the singing rank is. Suddenly, Kim blurts out that Jaiwon is destined to be an idol. Jaiwon is stunned at first, but quickly collects himself and humbly brushes it off. Just then, Kim asks if all the cameras are off. Jaiwon confirms, seeing this as the perfect time. Kim firmly suggests they all gather together. The moment the guy settled, Kim dropped the bombshell about the reality show. Still in disbelief, they asked if he was lying, leading him to ask if they didn't trust him. Then he continued explaining, the show was a competition between idol groups. Song Hyun processed this and understood that rushing in headfirst could be disadvantageous. Kim acknowledged this, noting that some groups eventually got a bad reputation, and even worse, ended up disbanding. So in short, it was a problem that needed to be decided carefully, while the redhead believed it was the best way to become a hot topic. Meanwhile, Jaiwon pondered briefly. After successfully coming up with nothing, he asked for Kim's suggestion. Kim wondered if he really had to spell out the most basic thing. Normally, they always faced criticism. In addition, they were in no position to be picky. If they didn't want to become nobodies, they needed to gain recognition fast. Just then, Lee Chai indicated he was down with the idea. Jaiwon also chimed in. With that, they all arrived at the same conclusion. Now Kim shifted to the main topic. They must follow 3 important rules during the competition. The first rule, never trust anyone at the broadcast station. He elaborated, saying they were like snakes in human skin. Lee Chai cheekily remarked that our boy was referring to himself. Ignoring the fool, Kim continued instructing them to pass any notes they received to their manager, and the notes must remain unopened. When asked why, Kim's expression changed. He said they could only open notes and letters from fans. Suddenly, Lee Chai chimed in again, remarking that he gets points since he has some experience in the entertainment industry. For some reason, our boy agreed that they should follow his lead. To our surprise, his advice came from his imaginary friend, which he views as a hamster. Regardless, still on the topic, Song Hyun noted that none of them were in a relationship. And since they got the message, Kim proceeded with the second rule. He seriously warned them to watch their mouths, whether the cameras were rolling or not. Especially behind the scenes, reminding them of that one idol whose footage got leaked, and was roasted by both his agency and fans. Finally, the main point. Kim assured them, no matter what happens, they should trust him. The scene transitions to the next day. At the event, Kim tried to make a good impression with the fellow idol group. The group wished them the best. But Kim understood it as a subtle way to ridicule them while pretending to encourage. The next group, arrived. A girl greeted them politely, while Song Hyun formally introduced himself. The girl, on the other hand, recognized them as the rookies who had recently debuted. Yes, this girl is dangerous, encouraging him to work hard while passing him her number. At the same time, another girl approached, making a flirtatious gesture to our boy, as if telling him to call her. Meanwhile, someone took note of this. As instructed, they handed the note over to their manager. Song Hyun concluded this was a result of their recent success, but the manager didn't think so. Just then, Kim felt someone staring at him, adding that the guy had been doing it for a while, and he had no clue who the bastard was. Anyway, since their turn was in 3 hours, they decided to practice. At the same time, the system informed Kim of his current mission. He had to complete the music program, and the rewards included increases in charisma, dance skills, and singing. Kim was a bit surprised by the main mission, also wondering why the system wasn't as chatty as before. Just then, his thoughts were interrupted by Jaewon suggesting they start quickly. Kim mentally prayed that everyone would stay out of trouble. The scene skipped to them completing their performance. Our boy's increase in charisma was evident, as girls screamed for his attention. To our surprise, Kim asked if they had eaten. However, food wasn't relevant when they were standing in front of their idol. Kim chuckled inwardly, advising them to take care of themselves and live healthy lives. Meanwhile, the guys were dumbstruck, sharing the same thought: was our boy possessed? The scene shifted to after their performance. The group discussed Kim. Suddenly, the guy from before specifically called for Jaewon. He seemed to have a history with him, as he addressed Jaewon as his junior and asked why he didn't come to greet him. Jaewon greeted Yuhyuk politely, while he tried brushing off his earlier comment. Our boy already realized it was the bastard from earlier. He noted that Yuhyuk's group became quite popular after the third year of their debut. Thinking, Kim concluded that Yuhyuk was from the Daego agency, which Jaewon previously belonged to. Anyway, the guy tried to catch up, or so it seemed. Yuhyuk remarked that during that time, Jaewon had felt bad due to his failed debut, and was a bit worried that he'd steal his spot. Judging from Jaewon's tense expression, Kim could tell the guy was trying to pick on him. A bit provocatively, Yuhyuk said he was grateful things worked out for Jaewon, even if it was late. However, his last statement about their set ending made our boy's expression darken. Now turning his attention to his group, he requested that they work hard together. He also suggested they move quickly to avoid creating bad rumors. Kim believed all this was happening because some girl dissed the guy and gave them attention. Suddenly, a note dropped. Our boy, one to take responsibility, advised Song-hyun not to pick it up, shocking the guy in the process. Now the guy was utterly confused by our boy's action. Kim's famed realization: Song-hyun didn't want it, successfully capturing the fool's attention. A bit panicked, Yuhyuk asked about it, while our boy apologized for interrupting him. Adopting the demeanor of a jerk, Kim throws a tantrum using Yuhyuk's own words. This deeply enraged and irritated him. For some reason, Lee Chai is always quick to catch on during mischief. Now Yuhyuk was intrigued, wanting to know more about our boy. Our boy cheerfully introduced himself, causing Yuhyuk to mutter his name with interest. Approaching Kim, he notes that their company isn't managing them well. He quickly grabs the note from Kim, opening it with anticipation, determined to report it. He's shocked by the contents. Apparently, it's just a receipt. Kim happily confirms this, making a fool out of him. Jaewon just stands there, utterly bewildered. Lee Chai, on the other hand, is almost dying from laughter while Kim continues playing the role of a clueless newbie, to repeating his previous statement. Now he's complaining about the company forcing them to eat vegetables for the show, also dragging their leader into the mix. He even offers to recommend the eatery since the salad was great. Young Dajuin chimes in too, noting that Yuhyuk had no reason to take the receipt. The guy can only curse under his breath through gritted teeth. Before anything else happens, they're interrupted. Ju Woozing approaches them, wondering why they didn't come to see him. Kim, still acting, explains they couldn't find him, while the guy silently wishes Kim would just go back to being himself. Yuhyuk just watches them chat, completely ignored. In truth, Ju Woozing sensed the tension and came to defuse the situation, pretty sharp of him. Suddenly Yuhyuk introduces himself. It turns out Ju Woozing volunteered to be a special MC for the show. Kim is shocked when the guy intentionally mocks him, mistaking his name for a math problem. Yuhyuk corrects him, but Woozing stays indifferent, apologizing for not being good with unfamiliar faces. Then, he turns to our boy, requesting a private talk in his waiting room since he hasn't been able to reach him recently. Kim freezes in sudden realization and apologizes, while Ju Woozing just repeats his request to come see him. Meanwhile, Kim thinks the guy's acting skills have seriously improved. Regardless, he plays the fool one last time before leaving, throwing in some sarcastic remarks. Let's shift to Kim meeting Ju Woozing. Kim can't help but wonder why his waiting room is so spacious when he's the only one using it. Woozing laughs, flexing his position, making our boy realize this guy really is a top idol in the country. Kim wonders if he could escape the game if he reached Woozing's level. With that, he decides to check his stats, and is shocked by how impressively high they are. Curiously, Ju Woozing asks if he has something on his face, but Kim just stares, wondering how long it'll take to reach his level. Regardless, Kim asks the reason he was called, and Woozing explains, it's a matter involving White Cherry, something he couldn't talk about outside. He admits he's known as a notorious scoundrel because he dumped her. Apparently, White Cherry is part of an idol group, and he recounts the entire incident. Kim comments sarcastically, saying surely most of the girls out there must be his exes. But Woozing, adopting a smug tone, defends himself. He continues, saying that's not the only reason he called. He also knows they're part of the contest program, which catches Kim's interest. He admits he heard about it from someone, and mentions the idol groups that will be participating. Reflecting, Kim notes that the groups mentioned are 1 to 4 years older, meaning the competition will be fierce. His thoughts are confirmed as Ju Woozing points out that Kim shouldn't expect to win. He even mentions the winner's already been picked. The whole thing is just a show. Now it all makes sense. Even Yuhyuk seemed overly confident. It's obvious the winner will be him. Ju Woozing dismissively says this kind of thing is normal, and Kim shouldn't be disappointed. Our boy thanks him. Woozing is shocked to hear Kim thank him, but Kim ignores it and asks if it's okay to tell the others. Woozing doesn't see an issue. Their conversation continues with Kim asking for the PD's identity. Ju Woozing admits he doesn't know, prompting Kim to task him with finding out. However, aware of Kim's attitude, Woozing wonders if our boy is planning to use the person. Kim just acts innocent. With that out of the way, Kim curiously asks why Woozing is being so nice. The guy calls him a bastard for being suspicious of his kindness. Kim admits he was just teasing, insisting he owes him one. Woozing questions what someone nameless like Kim could possibly offer. Honestly, no one can ever tell what'll happen in the future. Let's shift to later that day, the first performance result. As expected, Yuhyuk's group wins. At the same time, another member of a different group wonders why, given how rotten their personalities are. They can only feel sorry for their fans, adding that no idol group would ever like them. Suddenly, our boy is jolted out of his thoughts. Lee Chai, seeing Kim's expression, wonders if it's because they lost the first round, or if it's something else. He expresses concern, but Kim brushes it off, admitting he has something else on his mind. Song Hyun suddenly chimes in, asking about his closed-door conversation with Ju Woozing, making our boy feel puzzled. Young Dajuan also shows concern, worried that Kim got scolded. Kim playfully asks if they're planning to go find Ju Woozing and deal him for his sake. Jaewon notes that at least they could try. After joking around, Song Hyun, still concerned, asks if something bad happened. Kim decides to tell them everything, explaining that the winner of the contest has already been decided. This causes Young Dajuan to explode in frustration, cursing the officials, but Jaewon calmly tells him to take a seat. Still, he wants to know which group was chosen. Kim tells them it's Yuhyuk's group. That was a bit unexpected. It's messed up that they were offered the chance, only to be used. Meanwhile, Song Hyun remains silent. Bro already suspects Kim is cooking. But Young Dajuan, clueless, wonders why Kim is so calm. Kim tells him to stop making a fuss. However, Kim's expression suddenly darkens as Young Dajuan asks if he's some kind of pushover. This makes him recoil, while Jaewon notes that our boy already has a plan, since he knows Kim isn't someone who gives up. Kim agrees, firmly declaring they'll take first place in the contest. But Jaiwon is concerned, doubting how they can even influence the outcome. Our boy reminds him of the 3 rules he made earlier. He admits that a lot will happen in the future, but whatever does, they should always trust him. Honestly, if the group doesn't trust him, all his plans will fall apart. Like, did they hit their heads and forget the pineapple situation? Anyway, Kim goes as far as trying to convince the boys to trust him. Just then, he's reprimanded for saying such things. Song-hyun, no longer silent, asks what Kim is planning. Kim expresses that he'll do whatever it takes for them to succeed. Thinking to himself, he realizes the boys think they'll fail. He admits they might even hate him for some of the things he'll do. But even then, they should trust him. The little one finally makes his decision. He complains about not having the energy to deal with Kim, but agrees to follow through. Jaiwon isn't concerned. After all, Kim has proven himself. Their leader agrees too. With that, the boys come to a conclusion: they'll trust our boy. And it's going to be fun to see who he messes with next. Kim takes it as a compliment. Then, the system generates the task: he must take first place in the contest. If he succeeds, he'll unlock a hidden talent. But if he fails, they'll lose the privilege of releasing their album for the next 3 years. The next chapter begins with the boys practicing. Jaiwon, on the other hand, points out a few small mistakes and adjustments that need to be made. Our boy can't understand, wondering why the guy seems so different. Of course, our boy is the first to be completely drained, like someone who spent all day donating his proteins. When Young Daejuan suggests taking a small break, Jaiwon informs him they don't have time, pointing out that he needs more practice. Time passes. Apparently, Jaiwon finally agrees to a short break, making the guys feel relieved. Tired, Lee Chai notes that Jaiwon wasn't like this last year. He now understands why Jaiwon was infamous, which makes our boy question him. We then see his past. Lee Chai explains that Jaiwon was part of a large trainee group and had a huge fanbase. However, he failed to debut alongside the others due to the nature of the group. Lee Chai also remembers when he first joined their group, Jaiwon made them practice like hell. Our boy already knows this but can't help but wonder why he didn't debut. He can't imagine someone as talented as Jaiwon intentionally dropping out and missing his chance. Just then, Jaiwon chimes in, noting he didn't debut because he hated the group members. But Lee Chai points out that his former group is now in first place, wondering if Jaiwon doesn't have any regrets or hard feelings. But to Jaiwon, it's better to be hungry than to die of suffocation. Kim knew something happened, and Jaiwon only said that to end the conversation, still maintaining a calm and collected expression. Kim notes it's all an act, thinking the guy is great at pretending. Anyway, time passes, and Jaiwon decides to resume training, but the little one refuses. However, he quickly adds that Jaiwon's loyalty is more important than popularity. He thinks it's so admirable that Jaiwon should include it in his bio, but our man shuts that idea down, saying he can't skip practice. If he can talk, he can work, making the poor guy beg for mercy. Just then, our boy's phone vibrates with a message. It seems Ju Woozing finally replied, while Lee Chai wonders if it was Blue Tiger. Next, he sighs in disappointment when it wasn't her. Seeing this, Kim has a sudden realization, wondering if the boy is crushing on her. On the other hand, Lee Chai notices Kim's intense gaze and asks what he's thinking. Kim, adopting the demeanor of a jerk, denies everything, insisting he wasn't thinking about anything. Meanwhile, Kim switches his attention to his phone while the guy keeps ranting about Blue Tiger. Something is definitely cooking. Anyway, we see the chat with Ju Woozing. Apparently, the guy is trying to get back at our boy for all the times he was used. Kim, seeing this, wonders if he'll spend the whole day grumbling. Regardless, the guy decides to spill. Meanwhile, our boy is lost in thought, thinking about the PD's identity. The next moment, he nearly chokes on his drink. Apparently, the person he had in mind was the least expected. The PD is famously known as a crazy person in the TV network. The lady, Hyung, is actually his ex-girlfriend. Now let's shift to this beauty, formally introducing herself to the boys as the one in charge of the contest program. Meanwhile, Kim lets us know that because of her looks, people usually think she's easy to deal with. The group, in turn, returns the greeting while she notes they're a bit early. However, her tone changes as she insists they come on time because of her schedule, wondering if their manager and team didn't understand that. This causes a staff member to panic and inform her that the camera is rolling, but it's not a problem since it can be edited. On the other side, the manager apologizes, noting it was a misunderstanding on his part. Meanwhile, our boy can only think, she's the same as ever. Well, since they came in time, they get down to business. Realizing the boys are hardworking, and for good reason, Lady Hyung wasn't taking them seriously. But then she turns her attention to our boy. Kim remains calm, but he's scared out of his wits. He hopes she doesn't recognize him and tries to reassure himself. To his relief, she compliments him, noting he's quite handsome and looks even better on camera. Now, looking at the plan they presented, she assumes they're familiar with it, which they agree was good. However, she cheerfully calls it a waste paper. Man, talk about being direct. A staff tries to remind her that she's speaking in front of rookies and suggests she treat them well, but she doesn't care. Almost turning to an agreement, highlighting how people at the top keep meddling with trainees. Kim just sighs, watching the heated exchange. With that, he takes the initiative before she leaves, pointing out the meeting was supposed to be her briefing them about the recording and their mission. Telling her straight up, they didn't come here to hear nagging and complaints. This causes her to pause momentarily. Then her attitude does a complete 180 before she agrees. Seems like we now know how our boy managed to tame her. He explains that Lady Hyung can be a handful, but at least she has some rationality. Now composed, she briefly explains the plan, a 2-minute performance. And the recording schedule is tight due to changes in the production staff. The boys are stunned to learn that the first recording is in just 3 days. Next, she instructs the staff to bring out a lottery box. With the box placed, she politely asks who will go first. Song-hyun volunteers. So, she explains the rules. One person from each group will pick a song and compete. Since she wanted the songs to be unique, she deliberately included some girl group tracks. Song-hyun asks what songs are in the box, and she informs him, there are 5 songs and 5 groups. With this in mind, she asks if he's ready. He agrees, though a bit anxious. Anyway, after the meeting, the manager is a bit nervous, not knowing where the boys are. With that, he heads off to look for them while Kim explains the reason behind their strange behavior. Apparently, they picked the most difficult song to perform, so it's normal for everyone to feel discouraged. So he decides to search for the boys, hoping they didn't go far. Accidentally, he finds himself in a place he used to go to during his previous life. He would usually visit this part of the building when he was burned out. However, he quickly decides to leave, knowing something bad might happen. And to our surprise, it's his ex-girlfriend, surprised to see him. Well, making him question his life choices. Lady Hyung starts the conversation by asking if our boy smokes, which he denies. Curiously, she then asks why he came to the smoking area. Kim explains he was waiting for someone. He thinks to himself that she appeared at the exact moment he was thinking about her. Now, he's trying to figure out a way out of the conversation. Meanwhile, he notices Lady Hyung staring at him intently. Once again, she cheerfully notes how handsome he is, saying that compared to other idols, his looks could captivate people. Concluding that Kim is definitely her type now, while he casually thanking her. Definitely showing green flags. He also finds it ridiculous, considering she was the one who insisted they break up, and now suddenly he's her type. Seeing him a bit tense, she apologizes, blaming it on her habit of evaluating people, which can often come off as offensive. Kim inwardly knows this is just her way of complimenting people. So he doesn't really mind her praising his looks. Shifting the conversation, she mentions how idols are usually afraid of criticism and end up dull, but Kim is different, and that's refreshing. Kim believes it's because of her scary nature, which makes her chuckle. She then apologizes for her earlier actions, for not paying attention to their group and for informing them late about the changes. But Kim just tells her it's enough and advises her not to worry about it. Still, she insists, saying she's sorry for the cold treatment, noting that her life hasn't been easy. Kim lets us that she became a successful PD with her talents and lacks nothing, but now, Kim can see that she's exhausted. He starts thinking about what he should say to her. After all, he's meeting her as Seo Hajin, a rookie idol, and this is their first meeting. But the next moment, she starts talking about treating him better, and even plans to call him personally. Wow, she's really leaving hints. Just then, our boy cuts her off mid-sentence and hands her something. She's surprised to see a bunch of sweets in her hand. Kim explains that this was Lee Chae's way of helping him quit smoking. He uses the moment to riz a little, suggesting that she now owes him a favor. Lady Hyung is utterly bewildered, giving him a puzzled look. Kim stated that she once made a bet with him to quit smoking before he did. This time, he plans to help her, before his thoughts are interrupted by the system. With that, he lays his head down, quietly wishing she stays healthy and lives well. Then, he dashes off, embarrassed and roasting the system for showing up at such a crucial moment. Regardless, it felt nice seeing her again. He doesn't want her to be sorry, because they're going to win. The scene shifts to the boys watching the song they have to perform. Their manager, arms crossed, complains about the song they drew, while Jaewon reassures him that they're already familiar with it. It's all thanks to Ju Woozing giving them suggestions. Still, Song-hyun notes that the song isn't bad, but that doesn't mean it's impactful. They wonder if the song was popular, but Jaewon points out it wasn't on the charts, and wasn't well known at the time. We learn the girl group who performed the original song has been around for 7 years, only rising to fame after 4 long years of being nameless. One of their songs eventually became a hit across various platforms. Even though they're now a top group, the song the boys have to perform failed miserably back then. Time passes as they discuss concepts. Lee Chae notes the song is about love confessions. So he wonders if a cheerleader outfit might work. But Young Dajuin wants to share his thoughts and looks anxious. Apparently, his idea for the concept is Peter Pan, and Jaewon thinks it suits the song. Obviously, the guy is scared he'll get teased to death by Lee Chae, who suggests he could be the fairy. Young Dajuin then mutters that they should forget it. Wait, was he planning to be Tinkerbell? Anyway, the discussion continues. Though Young Dajuin fits the concept, something still feels missing. As they keep talking about it, our boy joins in and asks what the issue is. Jaewon shares his thoughts, explaining that the problem isn't Peter Pan, it's their original concept. They need to establish who they are. As expected, our boy is clearly impressed. Kim explains their group needs a strong identity, but how do they express that through their performance? Meanwhile, Young Dajuin gives up on the idea. Poor guy doesn't want to overwork his 2 brain cells, despite being in college. Kim's expression suddenly darkens when Young Dajuin starts talking about quitting school. This causes Dajuin to shrink at his words. He quickly changes the subject, playfully rolling around and claiming it was just practice. Lee Chae then begins teasing Dajuin, saying he is better than a vacuum cleaner. Just then, Jaewon picks up his phone, realizing an unknown number is calling. When he hears his name mentioned by the caller, his expression changes. Lee Chae wonders what's going on with Jaewon's serious face. The manager also grows anxious. Jaewon puts the call on speaker. The person on the other side is surprised he changed his number and asks about the concept meeting. Kim suspects the guy might be an idol, more specifically Yuhyuk. When he asks about the song they drew, Jaewon tells him it's Want You by the girl idol group Like Girls. Meanwhile, Kim realizes the fool is just calling to tease him. Kim is surprised to learn the guy doesn't even know the song, which he finds amusing. He wishes the conversation could be recorded to use against the guy later. But Lee Chai is already on it. Honestly, this guy is always sharp when it comes to making trouble. Meanwhile, the guy on the other end continues ranting about how troublesome the situation is, saying they don't have time to prepare. At the same time, Jaewon gets tired of the whining and says no one asked for his opinion. He throws a little tantrum, telling him to practice and stop wasting time complaining, before ending the call. At first, they all try to hold it in, but then burst out laughing, surprised to see this side of Jaewon. Kim notes there's no need for the recording anymore. Still, he doesn't understand why they're all laughing. Apparently, Jaewon's unexpected remark was hilarious. Lee Chai believes Jaewon has caught Kim's syndrome. Even our boy can't hold back his laughter and asks why he's being dragged into it. Suddenly, an idea strikes. He realized something. The more unexpected something is, the more attention it grabs. Things that catch people off guard are powerful. With that insight, their performance and group identity issue might be solved. He gestures for a pen and paper. He starts scribbling, making the others curious. Once done, he thanks Jaewon for the idea. Then he shares his plan with the group. They all agree. They decide to call her, or rather, Blue Tiger, who's surprised her adorable troublemaker is calling. She answers, and Kim tells her everything about the contest. But she stops him mid-sentence, asking what song they drew. After learning the title, she notes their idea is a bit rough, but says she can tweak the melody and song. Kim, being himself, chuckles at her response. Then, she's surprised once again. Kim is having the best time using his assets when needed. Blue Tiger looks hesitant, almost disagreeing, after hearing the plan from the other side. So, in desperation, the boy resorts to flattery, calling her a genius composer. But she's not buying it, claiming she has urgent matters to attend to. Still, with much-needed persistence, she eventually agrees, though clearly annoyed by the little troublemaker. The day of the recording finally arrives. Thanks to Blue Tiger's help, the team had worked their ass off during practice. Kim explains that the broadcast will begin the moment they enter the station. Now, he turns to young Dajuan, who looks smug. Suddenly, someone from another group hands Dajuan a sandwich. Internally, Kim is shocked. The boy just broke rule number 1, which is not to trust anyone inside the station. As for rule number 2, Charlie casually makes a comment, and Kim quickly reminds him to watch his words. Chai responds with an oops, my bad, and just like that, rule number 2 is out the window. Now concerned, Kim looks toward their leader, Sunghyun, who scratches his head and admits he's a little worried. This puts our boy on edge, knowing the boys might jeopardize everything, considering they couldn't follow 3 simple rules. Anyway, the scene shifts to the welcoming entrance. The call order decides the debut period of each group. Despite everything, Kim notices the blonde-haired bastard from earlier. He can't help but show his surprise, especially since that guy's group always somehow managed to win back-to-back. Still, Kim keeps his composure, watching his team perform better than expected. It seems he was worried for nothing. Just as he begins formulating the next step of his plan, the blonde guy approaches with a smug grin, acting like the contest is already in the bag. Which, apparently, it is. Understanding this, Kim watches his foolish performance silently while thinking about how best to handle him. After a short pause, Kim finally says it's been a while and that he's happy to see him again. The blonde guy looks confused. Taking the chance, Kim casually offers him a receipt, a direct jab, reminding him of the humiliation he suffered during the introductory stage of the contest. You can't really blame Kim. That blonde idiot provoked him first. The main event begins as the lights go off. A drop-dead gorgeous lady walks on stage and introduces herself as the MC of the Shining Star event. Not only is she stunning, but she's also a popular actress and celebrity. She elegantly outlines the event structure. It will be split into 6 episodes, and each group will participate in 3 contests. The first 2 contests will be decided through on-site voting, while the third and final one will be nationwide. Before proceeding, she decides to break the tension among the idols with a little surprise. This catches everyone off guard. They have no clue what's coming. She starts with a member from the Nightmare group. Sweat rolls down his face. For context, before entering, each group predicted and wrote down where they'd rank at the end of Shining Star. Yulin quickly understands why the guy is so anxious. After all, this is sensitive information. Turns out, the MC herself will be revealing each team's predicted rankings, as an icebreaker. Even Kim's hair stands on end. No one expected this to be revealed publicly. His group looks on curiously. After all, Kim was the one who wrote down their prediction. Regardless, the MC proceeds. Nightmare group predicted 3rd place. As for the refined Mars, they predicted 2nd place, despite them trying to downplay it. The blonde guy's team predicted 5th place. And as for Kim's group, they predicted 1st place. Now the group feels extremely self-conscious. The MC compliments their confidence, but the embarrassment would be unbearable if they didn't live up to it. She then turns to Kim, asking him to explain why he predicted a 1st place finish. Even his ex pays special attention, curious if he has a hidden strategy. Kim confidently replies that everything will be revealed on stage. With that, he walks off, leaving everyone speculating and hyped. Finally, it's time to kick off the main event with the talent show. The MC explains that one member from each group will showcase what they prepared. And since the Dawn group wrote down 1st place, they'll be given 2 chances to perform. Whichever group receives the most votes will get 15 minutes of screen time. This causes total chaos for Kim's group. The gravity of the situation hits hard. Judging by their expressions, this is a big deal. Even the other groups look shocked, meaning they also weren't aware of the stakes. Clearly, this was the handiwork of Kim's ex, who now looks wickedly thrilled at their reactions. The MC clarifies that singing and dancing are excluded, as they'll be judged separately in the coming events. Hearing this, Kim feels relieved. Apparently, he had made prior arrangements and even brought various ingredients to prepare multiple samples. But once he hears that the talent show will be only 3 minutes, all color drains from his face. Even the system feels sorry for him after all his planning. Since it's their turn, Kim frantically searches for a backup plan. His eyes land on poor young Dajuan. Dajuan hesitantly asks for permission to step forward. Kim agrees, but seeing Kim's serious expression, the youngest hesitates. So Kim quickly changes his tone, appealing to Dajuan with a sense of righteousness, expressing his full trust in him. That alone boosts Dajuan's confidence through the roof. Meanwhile, the system calls Kim trash for manipulating him like that. All fired up, Dajuan steps forward with his case in hand, confidently introducing himself. The MC sees this and believes he's well prepared, making her eager to see what he'll do. Everyone assumes the case holds a guitar. But when he opened the case, it was completely empty, which, naturally, raised a few eyebrows. The real surprise, though, is that he plans to perform their debut song on a recorder, something absolutely no one saw coming. No one expected him to play so well, so much so that even his group felt a bit embarrassed. Still, Dajuan's performance was impressive and even emotional. After hearing all the praise, he looked smug, clearly enjoying the attention. But our boy cut him off with a light-hearted yet sincere piece of advice. Turning his attention to him, the MC curiously asked what he had prepared for the talent show. He responded by highlighting a figure behind a singer, and that someone happened to be the person he admired the most. Well, to be honest, he was simply using one of the oldest tricks in the book as a PD editor, getting into character. His tone shifted as he called out young Dajuan, who had initially looked carefree and unserious. But when our boy started pointing out mistakes in his performance, Dajuan was taken aback and quickly apologized. Hearing that, our boy dove into a full-blown dramatic act, strictly reprimanding him for wasting viewers' time with such a low-quality performance. Dajuin was almost in tears, fully understanding his mistake and wishing he had practiced more. That gave our boy more reason to go all in, delivering the same iconic quote Blue Tiger once used. Watching closely, the MC almost died from laughter, realizing he was impersonating Blue Tiger the entire time. And just like that, his performance came to an end, though not without traumatizing the youngest of the group. When she jokingly asked how he managed to impersonate her so perfectly, he replied cheerfully, claiming it was thanks to a legendary super singer he had watched in the past. In truth, it was all because he had rewatched the same edited clip over and over again, more than 30 times. He then expressed his gratitude to Blue Tiger, flattering her with compliments. Feeling good about himself, he walked off stage, noting that his main objective, which was controlling the atmosphere, was a complete success. Regardless of how the other group performed, his group would hold the advantage, unless something unexpected happened. That unexpected twist came when a member from the other group insisted on doing taekwondo. The rest of his group didn't have anything particularly exciting to show, so the focus shifted to that blonde-haired bastard, Yehyuk. He stood firm, deciding to show off his Egyo. For context, it's an act of being cute, popular among K-pop idols. It was supposed to be cute, but it looked forced. Even his group members were left speechless. As expected, Yehyuk is built differently. But if acting cute counts as talent, then it still made the cut. Hence, since it doesn't count, our boy was sure that part would be cut during editing. He knew all too well how his ex-girlfriend operated. Looking smug, he seemed to have everything figured out. Once the blonde finished, it was finally time to vote. The audience used the remote devices given to them earlier to cast their votes. Overall, the talent show was decent, mostly thanks to our boy's performance. So now, everyone was ready to enjoy their free screen time and celebrate. But just then, Yehyuk approached Kim. He shoved him by the shoulder. As for why, he believed our boy knew everything in advance. Kim responded with a helpless expression. He understood people only see what they want to see. And Yehyuk was now throwing a tantrum in front of the filming crew. Before things could escalate, Chai-Li stepped in, trying to defuse the situation. Our boy was caught off guard, never expecting him of all people to intervene. However, Chai-Li's attempt to resolve the situation with a few kind words only made Yehyuk more irritated. Gritting his teeth, the blonde lashed out, but Chai-Li quickly dodged, thanks to his sharp reflexes. Irritated, our boy told him there was no reason to be jealous. If he was truly capable, he would have been selected for the first performance. With that, he walked away, leaving Yehyuk boiling in frustration. The confrontation had been unexpected, but it couldn't be helped. Our boy knew this incident would definitely spark rumors. Turning to Chai-Li, he questioned why he stepped in, but Chai-Li casually downplayed it, leaving our boy inwardly confused. Almost as if reading his thoughts, Chai-Li cheerfully suggested they start practicing again. Unbeknownst to them, our boy's ex-girlfriend had been silently watching everything unfold. She pondered his situation, trying to decode his real intentions. Letting out a sigh, she found herself in a dilemma. She wanted to paint a good image of our boy, but doing so would also drag him deeper into the fire. At that moment, a subordinate approached and reported on the upcoming stage events. Seizing the opportunity, she decided to place Kim's group last on the performance list, instead of first. The higher-ups were unlikely to support this idea, but she didn't care. The subordinate looked confused as she insisted on focusing the cameras on the Dawn group. She then revealed her plan, to create a face-off between the blonde and our boy's group. Since the winner of first place was already obvious, she figured the next best option was to stir up some chaos. Meanwhile, back in our boy's group, the members were shocked by the news that they'd be performing last. Being the final act increased the pressure, and it left them feeling uneasy and uncertain. Still, in every group of 12, there's always that one person who doesn't care about anything. Our boy, however, remained deep in thought. While watching the current performers, he analyzed their form and concept. It was clear that this group was genuinely good, and the youthful themes suited them perfectly. As the rest watched, Chai Li and Jaiwon continued to practice. Seeing Chai Li's serious expression, our boy insisted they practice more to avoid embarrassment. The others quickly agreed. But the moment Yurhyuk's name came up, Jaiwon's gaze instantly turned sharp. Watching their performance, our boy felt a wave of unease. He began to wonder if his ex-girlfriend was behind the sudden changes. Normally, the performance order had a strong impact on view counts. Placing the most popular groups first was standard. So naturally, his group should have gone first or second. But now, they were scheduled last. Our boy believed that once the truth came out, people would accuse them of rigging the order or pulling strings behind the scenes. All the while, the real mastermind, doing the actual cheating, remained completely unnoticed. The next chapter begins with the blonde making a mocking remark. If our boy's group had performed before them, he claims they might not have looked so cheap. Just as he's about to continue throwing insults, their leader steps in, warning the blonde to watch his mouth. However, this only fuels the blonde's ego, as he believes their groups aren't even in the same league. Kim reflects on the blonde's statement, and finds himself agreeing. He believes the blonde is right. Their performance and luxury outfits are all thanks to their agency's backing. So he sides with the blonde, stunning Sunghyun, adding that it would be foolish to even compare themselves to him. After all, in Kim's words, the blonde's group are trash, barely worth the dust on their shoes. It's our boy, after all, no surprise there. Meanwhile, the blonde struggles to keep his composure after hearing that. Just then, the system appears, offering Kim several options for how to respond. He selects the second one, teasing the blonde for not being able to eat when the dish is already served. This nearly causes the blonde to explode in frustration. Before things can escalate further, Kim changes his tone, suddenly offering an apology and claiming it was all just a joke. At the same time, their group is called to the stage, perfect timing to leave without looking back, which makes the rest of the group relieved and happy. Especially Jaiwon, who absolutely hates the blonde's guts. Before their performance begins, two crew members are seen discussing work backstage. When the brown-haired staff member asks if Kim's group has performed yet, the other gestures with relief, saying they're the final group. The moment their concept is revealed, the brown-haired staff member stares in awe at the stage. Moments before the performance, our boy and his team had discussed the best outfit to match their theme. Since they went with a Peter Pan concept, Jaiwon suggested using pirate costumes, specifically Captain Hook, given the character's importance in the story. And that's how they ended up dressed as pirates on stage. There's not much to say, their performance was fire, leaving the audience in awe. Our boy quietly observes the expressions of the two crew members. At first, he thinks their reaction means something went wrong. But then he spots his ex-girlfriend, who watches the performance without showing any emotion. He flashes a confident grin in her direction, as if to say, "Don't act so surprised." The scene then shifts to a celebratory moment. Their manager, whose name remains a mystery, looks overwhelmed with emotion, tears forming as he watches their performance. He's genuinely happy to have helped them get this far. Being himself, our boy wonders if the manager might be going through a tough time. While the rest of the group cheers the manager up, our boy decides to leave him in their care. He has something else to attend to. On his way out, he starts looking for his ex-girlfriend. But suddenly, a guy in a red hoodie recognizes him. He pulls him over to his table and offers a drink to celebrate their group's earth-shattering performance. One of the staff's drinking buddies joins in, trying to get friendly. But Kim wastes no time realizing these guys are trying to pull something shady. He could have just walked away from the situation. Instead, he takes a better approach, asking the group if they can handle what comes next. What comes next is completely unexpected. Our boy actually puts on a show, though I bet he was planning to make the guys regret messing with him. As the crowd, including some of the staff, begins to grow excited, he makes his performance even more dramatic, instantly shifting the entire atmosphere into something more lively. Charlie approaches, curious about how he managed to acquire such skills. He casually calls it a secret, though deep down, He knows it's all thanks to his experience as an editor. Remembering he has other matters to attend to, he hands a bottle to Chai Li, insisting he take over. The group expresses hope he returns soon, having enjoyed the show, but our boy doesn't say much in response. After stepping away, now alone, the system questions the reason he left, especially since he wasn't even drunk. He answers nonchalantly, irritating the system a little. Truth be told, he simply didn't have time. He was looking for someone. That someone turns out to be his ex-girlfriend, quietly drinking alone. Our boy greets her with his usual charm and a knowing smile, prompting the system to shoot him a look as if reading between the lines. They begin chatting. She starts by complimenting his group's performance, curious about who mentored him. He brushes off the praise, claiming it was pure talent. She gives a knowing look, already aware of his rising popularity among the production crew. Given they were alone, she admits she believes his group are the true winners. He acts surprised by her statement. She mutters a soft yes, her expression hinting she's about to say something important. But instead, she downs her drink in one gulp, swallowing the words along with it. Later, our boy changes the subject, suspecting she had intentionally scheduled their performance last. She explains it was due to overlapping shooting routes. Though it's obvious she's lying, he chooses not to press further. Instead, he thanks her, catching her off guard. Even more shocking is what he says next, which makes her freeze for a moment. Bro is practically aura farming and radiating unshakable confidence. Everything seems to be going well until the mood is completely ruined. The blonde idiot and his side fool are present, expressing insults and cursing at our boy. Even his parents aren't spared, which annoys the system. But the moment they include his ex-girlfriend in their verbal assault, it becomes clear they've signed their wills. Without hesitation, she steps forward. The entire atmosphere falls silent. Both guys freeze in fear as she approaches, holding a broken bottle with a casual smile. They scramble to make excuses, claiming they didn't mean what they said. She shows no reaction, just calmly tells them to relax. Panic sets in as they tremble, begging her to put the bottle down. But her next words chill them to the bone. In a dark tone, she reminds them of why they once called her the real bitch of the production team. She reveals how one higher-up used to touch juniors and claim it was an accident. In the end, that pig got what he deserved. Our boy nods knowingly, having heard the story many times. The system is stunned. Not only does he know, but he once dated this monster who now stares at the group like the Grim Reaper herself. The boys are visibly traumatized, especially after hearing how she dealt with the pig using a single, effective strike. The fact that she still holds her position says everything. Without a second thought, the group flees without looking back. Meanwhile, our boy contemplates running too, given she's slightly drunk and they're all alone. The system even nods in agreement, considering lighting an incense stick for him if they stick around any longer. But she simply sighs, then tells him not to overwork himself. She reveals the truth. Everyone already knew the blonde group had been pre-selected as the winners behind the scenes. Our boy was already aware. Still, she suggests his group accept second place and focus on building popularity. But she stops herself mid-sentence after realizing something. He already knows. Even more surprising, he knows, yet still believes his group will win first place. His confident expression says it all. He wouldn't be saying it if he wasn't absolutely sure. She's left speechless, wondering what kind of person he really is. The scene shifts to an online forum. Too tired to explain the details, but basically, all the headlines revolve around our boy, painting him as the center of attention. His ex-girlfriend takes note. There's barely any mention of the blonde group. The plan she once had, to frame the show as a face-off, has completely fallen apart. Worse still, our boy has now become the face of his group across social media. But something in the post catches her eye and makes her exclaim in shock. The comment section is in chaos. While many support our boy's group, others are confused and skeptical. Some believe the production used the blonde group's popularity to generate buzz. After all, they were last year's winners. But this has sparked a dangerous outcome. Hate is being redirected toward the wrong people, especially our boys' group. The ex-girlfriend goes pale. What she once envisioned as a light rivalry may soon escalate into an all-out fandom war. Her fears grow as she reads more comments, confirming just how much she miscalculated. No matter how hard she tries, changing public opinion proves impossible. The situation is spiraling out of control. Even worse, the episode is already airing. As panic sets in, the scene shifts once more. Due to overlapping shoot schedules and a tight deadline, production decides to fast-track the final show. The boys are confused and concerned, each filled with their own questions. The lady in charge gathers them for a briefing, informing them that the next event will begin with an elimination round. Pressure rises. Not only is the deadline suffocating, but they're expected to perform their signature song, yet they only have 2 songs total. Watching their expressions, the coordinator wishes them luck and leaves. The group begins debating which song to perform. Uncertainty grows with each word, as no one wants to make the wrong decision under pressure. Eventually, Sung-hyun steps forward, taking the role of leader. With a firm tone, he suggests they go with their debut song. The leader shares his thoughts, acknowledging that their new song is great but believing their debut track would be a better choice. The reason lies in the emotional value. It reminds them of their first supporters, those who have stayed from the beginning until now. His idea quickly gains approval from the group. However, they can't ignore that their debut song flopped entirely. The memory brings back a wave of nostalgic embarrassment, especially for Jaewon. Even so, our boy agrees with the sentiment, although inwardly, he has no idea. He only joined after their failed debut. With everyone on board, the topic shifts to something more serious: their performance. It needs improvements and adjustments. While discussing this, the youngest points out that the song at the time lacked a proper storyline. Our boy likes his input, making him feel smug about his contribution. Still on the topic, he speaks up again, prompting Chai-Li to add a cheeky remark about his enthusiasm. The storyline proposed seems cliché: a vampire and a top female hunter falling in love at first sight. This makes the group a bit skeptical at first. But seeing how excited Daejuan seems, they choose peace over violence and go along with it. As the discussion progresses, our boy's perspective begins to shift. He starts noticing that these guys have real star quality. The only issue is the environment that has been holding them back. Deciding to be thorough, he pens down the youngest's idea. The topic then shifts to the arrangement and choreography. Chai-Li blushes, revealing that he has something in mind and wants to take responsibility for that part. Our boy appears puzzled yet curious, wondering if Chai-Li is really up to the task. Chai-Li responds confidently, claiming to have learned from the genius composer herself. Still, something in his expression makes our boy wonder about their relationship. To preserve the mood, he dismisses the thought and agrees, which instantly lights up Chai-Li's face. After a bit of small talk, Daejuan expresses his wish to contribute more. Our boy assures him, highlighting his role as crucial to their success. With no objections from the others, who show their full support, the youngest member's confidence soars to a whole new level. With everything practically settled, our boy decides to move on to the next matter. The system wastes no time chiming in, already suspicious that he is planning to use someone as a scapegoat. Attempting to reassure it only makes the system even more wary. Time passes, and the scene shifts to our boy greeting another idol from a different group. He has come to ask a few questions, and the system gives him a deadly glare, almost as if trying to kill him with its eyes alone. Unaware of our boy's true motives, the idol agrees to chat and even suggests they drop the formality. With that, our boy shifts gears and gets to the real reason for the meeting. When the blonde group is brought up, the idol sighs, having already expressed strong dislike for them. He questions if that is the only reason for the meeting, only to be surprised when our boy shares the same disgust and distaste. The idol casually explains that it is common for people to hate the blonde group. He adds that they treat fans like ATM machines. Our boy's gaze shifts slightly, as though mentally taking notes. But that isn't the only issue. The blonde group has also been spotted frequently at nightclubs. The more the idol explains, the more intrigued our boy becomes. Eventually, the idol suggests asking Jaiwon for more details. However, our boy shakes his head, knowing Jaiwon left the group a long time ago. Surprisingly, the idol disagrees. His expression hints at something deeper. Seeing the cluelessness on our boy's face, the idol goes ahead and explains. He mentions the blonde group's past issues with finding sponsors and how, during that time, Jaiwon was a candidate for debut but was famously kicked out because of those very issues. Sensing the conversation is nearing its end, the idol wishes our boy luck and leaves him to uncover more on his own. Meanwhile, our boy finds himself lost in thought, remembering the moment before their debut when Jaiwon confessed it was his final chance. The scene then shifts to the group practicing. Our boy expresses concern about a particular note in the song, suggesting that switching from a C note to an A might improve it. Watching Jaiwon work silently, it becomes clear that Jaiwon has always been too good for the company. Yet, it is still a mystery why someone with his talent hasn't achieved success. Just then, Charlie suddenly bursts in, a wide grin on his face. He has good news. He has worked on their first song with help from the composer and encourages everyone to listen carefully. After some time, the group is stunned into silence by the quality of the song. Worried, Charlie asks if they don't like it. But once the shock wears off, they begin complimenting him one by one, calling him a genius. Bathed in praise, Charlie gains confidence and believes the song could actually rank #1 on the charts. At that moment, their leader bursts in frantically and begins scribbling his arrangement plan on paper. His drawing skills are so impressive that they end up confusing Dajuin in the process. Watching everyone work so passionately, our boy can't help but envision their next event being a huge success. That is, if they aren't falling short in one area, and once again, that shortcoming happens to be him. The group begins discussing ways to help since the performance can't succeed at this rate. It turns out that, despite all the practice, our boy still can't dance. The system chimes in wickedly, pointing out that his skill has improved from a D- to a D+. Now, it is unclear whether the system is genuinely encouraging or just mocking. Eventually, the system offers a helping hand, generating a side quest for the concert: gather more than 500 people. If successful, his dancing skill will increase to a C. If not, he'll fail entirely. At this point, our boy can only laugh, because one simple post is all it takes to complete the task. The next chapter takes place on the day of the concert. While preparing backstage, a haggard-looking staff member approaches our boy. She looks like she could pass out at any moment, so he thanks her sincerely for the last-minute arrangements. She only hopes everything will go smoothly, and he responds with a bright smile. It turns out that our boy got his poor ex-girlfriend involved in securing the concert venue, and she didn't disappoint. During their earlier discussion, he promised to speak to her boss if things went well, which raised the possibility of her getting a bonus. That thought immediately lifts her mood, as the job has been stressing her out. The cheeky system senses that she is aware of being used but agrees to help anyway. It is hard to dislike him, even when being taken advantage of. Time skips forward, and a staff member comes in to inform the group that it is time to head on stage. Upon hearing this, Sung-hyun is the first to react, unable to hide the anxiety in his voice. Our boy tries to reassure him with calm words, as if to say his worries are pointless. Jaiwon chimes in, expressing confidence that everything will work out since they have come this far. But Young Daejuin remains the most anxious. He needs reassurance, worried about whether people have actually come to see their performance. Their last concert only drew 10 people, with just 5 staying until the end. The memory makes it clear how scarred he still is. The leader recalls with a sigh that even those 5 were just passers-by. Despite the tension, Jaiwon remains optimistic, firmly believing things will turn out fine. Kim, meanwhile, is quietly impressed by Jaiwon's maturity, especially after watching him shake off his worries the previous day. Suddenly, Sung-hyun takes the initiative, acknowledging Jaiwon's words and calling the group together. Understanding it is time to chant, Lee Chai can't help teasing the younger one, reminding him of his embarrassing moment from the last chapter. The playful banter helps lighten the mood. With spirits lifted, the group proceeds with their chant and heads backstage, where loud sounds can already be heard from the venue. Lee Chai speculates that a lot of people have come, but this only makes the younger member even more anxious. The moment they step on stage, they are all struck speechless. This Shining Star event has definitely paid off. There is a massive crowd. The leader immediately steps forward and thanks the audience for coming despite the cold. Lee Chai tries to join in the process of revealing Young Dajuin's crybaby moment, but is interrupted by him, leaving him a bit embarrassed. Still, the girls in the crowd find his expression adorable. After the greetings, the performance begins, and the crowd goes wild. The scene doesn't need much narration. After all, everyone knows how hard the group worked to reach this point. By the time the performance ends, the crowd is even louder than at the start. Young Dajuin is the first to speak, crediting their performance to intense practice. The rest of the group shares their thoughts, and, as always, Lee Chai doesn't miss the chance to tease the youngest. Seizing the moment, our boy addresses the audience with sincerity. Hidden among the crowd, however, is a suspicious figure watching closely. The group promises to always give their best, to continue improving, and never leave room for regret. Midway through the speech, something is thrown at our boy from the direction of the suspicious figure. The sensation feels oddly familiar, too similar to past experiences as an editor, where he occasionally got egged. He stands there stunned, wondering how something like this could happen now, especially after becoming an idol. The group looks shocked, and for a moment, the entire arena goes silent. Even though our boy handles things like a pro without reacting, it still feels like he throws a silent tantrum. Despite keeping a straight face, he quietly notes that this is the first real experience of being egged and hated, something normal for idols. Still, he never expected it to be this bad, especially since people see their group as rivals to the blonde and the producer's favorite. Regaining his composure, he resumes his speech, announcing the upcoming release of the first series of Shining Star. He assures the audience that his group will be preparing intently and hopes not to fall short of fans' expectations. His final words hit hard, leading his fans to erupt in wild cheers. The scene then shifts backstage. It's funny how the one who suffered the humiliation remains calm while the rest panic. Deciding to play it cool, he changes the subject to his hair, using it as an excuse to fix it up. The red-haired guy, however, confirms that he is actually mad. This earns him a gentle forehead flick from our boy. Before leaving, he tells the group to lighten up. Despite that, their leader appears genuinely concerned. Our boy comforts him without saying much. The scene then moves to an online post. The creator expresses frustration, blaming the idiot for ruining the vibe and questioning what our boy's company is even doing. The comments follow suit, some venting anger at the disruptors, while others voice support in their own ways. Thanks to the back and forth between fans and haters, the group's video racks up nearly 1 million views in just one day. Staring at his phone, our boy feels grateful that everything worked out. The situation created the perfect image of his group standing against the blondes. Even better, his dancing skills have drastically improved, so much so that he makes a weird face, unintentionally drawing attention from his group. Feeling awkward, he blames the expression on drinking water the wrong way. No one buys it, so he quickly shifts the topic, urging them to start practice. After the back and forth, his attention returns to his phone. Surprisingly, Blue Tiger has made a sticker featuring him and even takes the initiative to invite him out. Not only is he not receiving much hate, but it turns out the tigress has a soft side too. Everything would have been fine if his brother hadn't texted him, bringing up some suspicious posts about Jaiwin appearing on a forum. Still, he feels things will be okay since no one is pressing the issue. Noticing several missed calls, he furrows his brows slightly before excusing himself to take a dump. Now in the smoking area, an isolated room in the building, our boy appears, knowing it's the best place to avoid attention. Right there, he dials his ex-girlfriend. She begins the conversation by apologizing for what happened and for not being able to show up. He reassures her not to worry. But things turn serious as she apologizes again, explaining her original intention was just to stir things up between his group and the blondes. Unfortunately, it got out of hand. In response, our boy admits she actually did a good job. He would have done the same. She is surprised by his maturity, but promises to fix things and make sure he doesn't get dragged into anything. She also suggests stopping the whole idea of making the competition look like a face-off. Before she can finish, he immediately rejects the idea, shocking her. He insists she continue with what she is doing. She can't understand. To her, backing out while the fans are showing full support seems like the right move. But our boy notes his idea wouldn't affect her position. She pauses for a moment before asking what he really wants. That is exactly the moment he has been waiting for. His lips curl into a grin. He answers in the form of a parable. From the translation, it seems like he wants peace, though we already know he can't live without violence. She looks hesitant but agrees to go along with it, hoping he won't regret his choice. He replies confidently, he won't. At this point, she jokes about giving him a nickname, suggesting the title Entertainment Madman suits him well. But it also reveals that she clearly doesn't know how to name things. He just laughs it off before hanging up. Once again, the crazy bitch, or maybe his crazy bitch, is back on his side. The scene then shifts to the day of the next event. The MC, as always, appears beautiful and elegant, addressing the audience and explaining the voting system. Each group has a chance to progress to the next round, based on their score from previous performances and votes. Audience votes amount to 9,000 points, while the judges contribute an additional 1,000 points. These will determine the rankings for that day's competition. In short, the scores are based on the previous round, current audience voting, and judges' evaluations. And with that, the competition is about to begin. The scene begins with a group wrapping up their performance. The members marvel at how well it went. Meanwhile, our boy keeps a straight face, quietly thinking that while the performance was great, their vocals were highly unstable. In other words, he believes Jaewon could have done a better job. Soon it's their turn, and Jaewon throws a puzzled question at our boy, leaving him momentarily speechless. Jaewon expresses concern, wondering if he has somehow been traumatized by their last concert. But his doubt becomes clear the moment he sees our boy's expression. Still, he asks if he feels nervous. Understanding Jaewon's worry, our boy nods just to reassure him. After all, Jaewon has always been their key to success. Moments before they're introduced on stage, a die-hard fangirl hastily prepares to welcome them. As the MC announces their appearance, the boys step onto the stage dressed in high school uniforms, and the crowd erupts in excitement, especially the die-hard fangirl. Or rather, our boy's personal fan, who takes note of his striking appearance. She can't help but wonder who the bastard was that threw an egg at him. Dismissing the thought, she reflects on how she's been diligently supporting him, even praying for the group's success. Just then, the lights go out, signaling the start of their performance. The audience looks puzzled, guessing they're about to perform their debut song. Only the die-hard fan understands what's happening, and her suspicion turns out to be right. The boys are performing their very first debut song, the one that initially flopped. But this time, the lyrics have been improved and a better storyline added. Now completely blown away, the fangirl expresses her excitement, wishing that our boys' company would continue to support them just as they have until now. However, her thoughts are suddenly interrupted by another blackout. This time, the boys introduce another surprising element to their performance, spicing things up with a newly added concept suggested by the youngest member. Her jaw drops in amazement as the group continues to surprise her, one moment after another. The chapter begins as the curtain closes on Dawn's stage musical performance. The show is so impressive that the MC can't help but express a desire to watch them perform again. In her excitement, she turns her attention to the group, curious about how they managed to pull off such a stunning performance in just a week. Responding modestly, our boy credits the boys for everything, even joking that he simply watched from the background. Not wanting it to sound like he has been lazy, the leader quickly rephrases the comment, clarifying that our boy supervised everything from behind the scenes. Each member takes turns sharing their thoughts, and Jaewon wraps it all up by thanking their fans for showing up. Afterward, our boy notices how cheerful the group seems. However, he doesn't quite match their energy, feeling a bit out of place. The system chimes in, explaining that the group is satisfied with their performance, but our boy's expression tells a different story. This prompts the system to roll its eyes in annoyance, leaving our boy slightly confused. At last, the long-awaited moment arrives, the announcement of the first competition rankings. As the crowd erupts in cheers, our boy falls deep into thought. His group has not yet been mentioned, and only the second-place spot remains. To his shock, it is revealed that their group has secured first place with a staggering 4,700 points, meaning over 80% of the audience has voted in their favor. Despite the celebration, our boy remains contemplative. From the moment he was egged until now, something feels off. While the group celebrates in high spirits, unaware of his thoughts, he chooses to play along, brushing it off. After all, a win is still a win. Taking the mic, he begins by thanking the fans and audience for their overwhelming support. Although the group has struggled with certain areas like set design, their gratitude remains strong. He also thanks the filming crew and his ex-girlfriend for ensuring the event runs smoothly, and acknowledges their competitors. With his speech concluded, the MC reveals that a special advantage would be granted to the winners. Dajuin, hopeful, anticipates a luxurious reward, perhaps even a feast. However, the expression on our boy's ex-girlfriend darkens, hinting that something bad is about to happen. It turns out our boy's suspicions were right all along. The so-called special advantage means the first-place group will receive a deduction in their total points. The group's expressions turn pale upon hearing the news. To make things worse, the MC, still smiling, adds that the winning group now has the privilege of choosing another group to suffer the same deduction, a chance to bring down a rival. It becomes clear that this setup has been designed from the start, and now the reason their group took first place instead of the Blonde Idols group makes more sense. Regardless of which group is chosen, backlash from fans will be unavoidable. Judging by the look on the Blonde Idol's face, his agency had a hand in orchestrating the twist. The audience quickly grows restless. One fan even threatens legal action if her favorite group is selected. As the chaos unfolds, Jaewon tries to step in and help, but our boy calmly reassures him, leaving him speechless. Noticing how tense his group has become, he reminds them of one important rule: trust him no matter what. While his words are steady, their unease remains visible. The MC assumes he has already made his decision. A tense 5-second silence follows. During that pause, his thoughts race. Choosing the Blonde Idols group seems like the logical move, especially since the public views them as rivals. However, doing so could damage the group's image. On the other hand, selecting a smaller, less popular group would avoid conflict but feel unfair. Weighing all options, our boy makes his choice. He selects the Blonde Idols group. With that, the chosen group receives a point deduction, dropping them to last place. The Blonde Idol's arrogance vanishes faster than a free gacha summoned during a limited-time event. Despite the shock, the blonde group clings to hopes of making a comeback. As the MC announces the end of the show, our boy cracks a rare smile, bringing the chapter to a close. After hearing this, the blonde bastard wastes no time flying into a rage. In a menacing tone, he expresses his frustration, never imagining that our boy would be foolish enough to choose them of all people. Just then, Sunghyun steps in, attempting to defuse the situation, but that only makes the blonde even more irritated. Seeing the tension rise, our boy adds more fuel to the fire, further escalating things until Sunghyun is forced to remind the fool that the cameras are still rolling. This earns him a glare from the blonde, as if calling him an idiot, while noting that everything could be fixed with a simple edit. Out of nowhere, the blonde suddenly chooses to let go. In his mind, our boy has just dug his own grave. Backlash is inevitable. To cut the endless rant short, our boy points out how the bastard has been whining non-stop, questioning why he is even so worked up. His deliberate provocation signaling round 2. Just before the second round can begin, Jaewon steps in. He confronts the blonde, reminding him of the dirt he has on him, causing the blonde to restrain his anger. though clearly against his will. This moment draws the attention of the filming crew. Deciding to act his age for once, the blonde leaves the scene, though not without wishing our boy good luck in dealing with the consequences. Once they are alone, the team's mood shifts. Criticism comes quickly. The leader expresses his thoughts. He only supported our boy because they were in public. In truth, if there was something personal between our boy and the blonde, it should have been mentioned. More importantly, his actions could affect the group as a whole. Hearing this, the youngest member speaks up in defense of our boy. But he is quickly reined in, as the leader chalks it up to frustration, especially since the decision was made solo. In response, our boy repeats what he said earlier: they just needed to trust him. He doesn't want the group to get shaken up this early. And since it was his decision, he takes full responsibility and apologizes. Sunghyun looks ready to reprimand him again, but is stopped by Lee Chai. Lee Chai knows that our boy isn't someone who acts without reason. Still, no one expected things to escalate like this. In short, Lee Chai doesn't want our boy to shoulder everything alone. It sounds selfish, especially since they are a team. But at the same time, he encourages him to understand things from Sunghyun's perspective. After the group conversation, our boy steps outside for some air. Glancing at his phone, he chats with his little brother, almost forgetting about the kid altogether. Next comes a quick scroll through online forums. Review after review comes in, and it turns out our boy is the only one getting roasted. Surprisingly, the boys have been spared, which is kind of a relief. Suddenly, a message from his ex-girlfriend pops up. There doesn't seem to be any reason for her to apologize, which leaves him confused. At that moment, someone approaches from behind and hands him a canned drink. It is Jaewon, showing up out of concern. With both of them now seated, Jaewon asks if he isn't cold. But our boy insists he is fine. When asked about the leader, Jaewon smiles and signals that everything is okay. Once again, he urges our boy to consider how their leader feels, being the kind who always shoulders responsibility. Kim understands why Sunghyun is upset. It's only natural for someone in his position. But Jaewon quickly clarifies. Sunghyun is angry not because of the group's risk, but because our boy keeps trying to handle everything alone. Ever since the concert egging incident, he has been playing Batman, acting solo in every situation. After hearing this, our boy feels genuinely touched. He can't quite understand why the group is so forgiving. As the conversation continues, something interesting comes up. Jaewon admits that during the contest, he had originally wanted to pick the blonde's group. Our boy, curious, asks if Jaewon used to be the center of attention in that group. That question catches Jaewon off guard. Since our boy already knows that much, Jaewon confesses that he used to be the brightest in the group. When our boy throws in another question, Jaewon looks surprised again, then leans in to tease, having never seen him so curious. Still, he explains that the entertainment world is small and cruel, where bad rumors spread fast. He reveals how he left the blonde's company because of a sponsor offer. Everyone else agreed to the deal, but when he refused, they treated him like a joke. It was a decision he regretted at the time. Slowly, his position in the company faded. Eventually, he joined D City Entertainment. And though the agency was small, he found peace because the manager and chairman were good people. Kim, meanwhile, tries to keep a straight face, knowing the good people Jaewon mentioned included that old geezer who had always neglected their talented group. Regardless, Jaewon genuinely feels grateful to have found a safe place. And that gratitude only makes his irritation toward the blonde grow even stronger. When asked for clarity, Jaewon reminds him of the receipt incident, how he had completely humiliated the blonde. Our boy compliments him, recalling how he boldly called the guy a bastard after their first performance. They both share a good laugh. Jaewon then thanks him. Before leaving, he makes sure to express how indebted he feels, and that he trusts our boy, even if the worst happens. That leaves our boy stunned. Gripping his chin tightly, as if making a silent vow, he promises they will take first place. After all, he isn't someone who breaks his promises. Jaewon nods in approval, suggesting they head back to the dorm. By the way, If the video was enjoyable and this far into the story felt worth it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to show some love. Until next time.